Welcome to Straight Talk, and wow, it is. We have crossed the red line of determination, the red line of vengeance, and the red line of justice. I'm just behooved beyond my wildest imagination. White people, there's no place for you to fucking run. Y'all about the dumbest motherfuckers on the goddamn planet. Telling you over and over and over and over and over again to stop. But see, this white skin that your forefathers and mothers have taught you about and lied to you, deceived you into believing that white skin some kind of way is some magical potion. Bitch, please. There is a worldwide fatwa. I guess that's how you say it and what it is. There's a declaration of war, holy war against white people. That's not going to stop until we eliminate all you damn motherfuckers. Fuck all y'all motherfuckers. This is what is coming out of Iran. We tired. You all. What's up, Brother Willie? I really appreciate you, man. This one is tight, my brother. But Minister Farrakhan said it best. Been saying it. People been saying it. And white folks are dumber than a motherfucker. They think they're just going to be on top forever. But oh no, the table do turn, bitch. The table do turn, motherfucker. And it is here, and it's getting worse by the motherfucking minute and second, day, hour, week, month, year, and decade to come for all of eternity. Fuck all white folks. Y'all are in some shit that you can't get out of. You done painted your motherfucking dumbasses in that goddamn corner. Now you can't get out. You were told to stop. You were told to pay reparations. You were told to stop killing. All right, well, we try to tell you. So, it's going to be one, and it is one for the record books. Hold on, brother Willie. I'm going to go to the share screen now. You don't have to keep doing this. So, we're at this juncture in the historical pages of history. There has never been a country to take on 15 motherfuckers and beat them. Iran did that. Iran did that. Iran is the new motherfucking superpower. He the motherfucking champ of the motherfucking world, bitch. He the real nigga. All these motherfucking warships and big ships talking about they're the biggest dick in the world. Man, you done lost your motherfucking mind, bitch. Trump and all these white boys. Oh, we got the biggest dick going. Gerald Ford, the Lincoln. Oh, they're gone now. They're gone now. And if they ain't gone, they will be gone. Who is on the scene? China. Who is on the scene? Russia. Who is on the scene? Everybody in the Middle East. We're tired of these motherfuckers taking up space and using our fucking oxygen. There won't be no more bases in the Middle East, no Africa, no anywhere else. It takes 3 days to get to India where they can stock up on the weapons, and 3 days back. That's a week. Bitch, by the time you get them back, it's over. They don't have any more motherfucking weapons, no nothing. America is done. They done hooped and hollered, yelled and screamed for the last 50 years talking about they the biggest dick on. Bitch, you got the smaller dick. See, this is what this shit is all about. This is the Epstein war, not no epic fury, bitch. We already know that. We already know that, baby boy. Trump, Netanyahu, and all you bitches. France, Germany, you name it. Y'all done. From what I've seen and read, NATO is bankrupt. They ain't got no goddamn money. The new NATO, Islamic NATO in the Middle East, has 60 million standing army and trillions upon trillions of dollars. Ooh, baby, if I tell you black is back, it's it. That's it. We back on top, baby. We ain't giving this shit back. You better believe that motherfucking shit. You better believe that shit. You better leave that shit. You better leave that shit. The United States of Africa is united. All of the global south is united. If it ain't, it coming together real quick. Because we know that the blessing comes through unification, being united. The curse comes from being disunited and fighting amongst each other. They just discovered $12 trillion worth of gold. Do you really think we're gonna play this game? Oh no, baby, we're gonna play this game to the hill. America, for what I understand, they ain't got no goddamn gold. No, any of the other countries, white ain't got any fucking gold. It's over. They are destroyed economically. They are destroyed politically. Because once we take over, we're going to erect large policy and regulation that regulate these motherfuckers and put them in jail or kill them. We're gonna regulate. We're gonna erect. I'm sorry, large policy and regulation that benefit us and the global south and black people, brown skinned people all over the world. I got all that motherfucking shit here to look at. There's 10 countries that white folk can't go to now. They hated motherfuckers. They are the most hated motherfuckers on the goddamn planet. They think they got a passport card to go wherever they want to go, do whatever they want to do, and call the police, and the police gonna be there to help them. No, baby, it don't work like that. Them days are over with. It's gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse for these fentanyl addict motherfuckers. Brother Willie. Man, China ain't forgot what they went through, what the white boy put them through, with the opium wars and killing over 20 million Chinese and destroying their families. Why do you think the fentanyl is so high on the chart for China to bring it into the United States? It's over. And I'm not batting a motherfucking eye. I would step over that white motherfucker and keep it moving. All the blessings that they've been getting, that they robbed from us, is coming back on us. We are the true people of God. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. We've been saying this, Brother Willie, for I don't know how long, bro, but yeah, it's time, baby. It's time. I'm here to tell you, there ain't no time like this time. Ain't no way like this way, baby. It's on and popping, and white bitches gonna be on our BBC, that big black dick or cock. I'm here to tell you, they trying to save their motherfucking asses. And a lot of these, 90% of these white boys, they're gay than a motherfucker. And you're gonna see that tonight. So before we even get it cracking, I'm hoping that my boy will come back on. We're gonna look at Iran destroyed U.S. oil sites, wipes out troops in Bahrain. Let's get it cracking, baby.
Being written in the sands of the Middle East, a tectonic shift that the empire in Washington and its poodle in Tel Aviv never saw coming. While the corporate media is busy wringing its hands, let's be clear about what is actually happening on the ground. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has unleashed a wave of vengeance that has literally set the Persian Gulf ablaze, and the so-called protection racket that the United States has been running with the petrodollar princes of the Gulf has collapsed in a spectacular fireball of their own making.
Iranian drones have struck one of the world's most critical oil facilities, sending shockwaves through global energy markets.
Iran drones have struck oil refineries in Saudi Arabia.
The Defense Ministry has just released a statement that 2 drones were intercepted and destroyed at one of its largest oil refineries.
In a coordinated and devastating response to the American-Israeli assassination of Ayatollah Khamenei, the IRGC has done what the Pentagon said was impossible. They have systematically dismantled the energy infrastructure that keeps the Western war machine greased. We aren't talking about minor skirmishes here. We are talking about the complete decimation of America's strategic oil interests from the UAE to Saudi Arabia.
Hold on.
The Ras Tanura refinery in Saudi Arabia, the largest oil export terminal on the planet, is currently a smoldering ruin after precision drone strikes evaded their expensive American defense systems. Qatari officials confirmed that their energy facilities were hit so hard that Qatar Energy was forced to halt LNG production entirely, sending shockwaves through European capitals that were already freezing without Russian gas. But the Iranians didn't stop at the oil. In a move of sheer strategic genius, they targeted the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Satellite imagery analyzed by major outlets confirms that what was once the crown jewel of American naval power in the region is now just rubble on the coast, with the main command headquarters completely destroyed by barrages of missiles and drones. Before we dive deeper into the arithmetic of this economic doomsday for the West, I need you to hit that like button and share this video. The mainstream media is trying to spin this as escalation, but we are bringing you the truth about a legitimate defensive operation that is exposing the fragility of the American empire. Subscribe to the channel right now to support journalism that actually questions the war hawks, rather than cheering them on. Trust me, the next 10 minutes will change how you see the balance of power forever. Let's talk about the jugular, the Strait of Hormuz. The Americans have been living in a fantasy land where they thought their Fifth Fleet guaranteed freedom of navigation. Well, the IRGC just gave them a reality check. A senior commander of the guards declared the strait closed, and unlike the empty threats we've heard in the past, they mean it this time. They haven't just threatened to sink ships, they've actually done it. Any vessel attempting to pass is being met with fire. We are talking about 20% of the world's oil supply being effectively corked in the bottle. The IRGC didn't just blockade it. They are actively targeting pipelines on land to ensure that not a single drop of oil flows to support the American and Israeli war machine. The calculus here is brilliant. You cannot fight a war without energy. And by strangling the supply, Iran is cutting the oxygen to the U.S. economy. Now, the Americans, in their typical arrogant fashion, thought they had a backup plan. They gambled on seizing control of Venezuela's oil. The narrative was simple. If the Gulf blows up, we just pivot to Caracas. But that gamble has failed spectacularly, and rather embarrassingly. Reports are surfacing that the deep cooperation between Tehran and Caracas, forged over years of sanctions, has created a wall that U.S. intelligence simply cannot breach. The Venezuelans, refusing to be the America's gas station for a genocide, have sabotaged their own infrastructure or blocked shipments, rendering the U.S. plan useless. The White House thought they could just waltz into Venezuela and flip a switch to make up for the loss of Saudi oil. But they forgot that Iran has been embedding technicians and building alliances right under their nose in their own backyard. So not only are they losing the Gulf, they are being humiliated in Latin America. Let's get into the numbers, because arithmetic doesn't lie, and it certainly doesn't care about American exceptionalism. We are looking at the most violent spike in oil prices since the 1973 embargo. Within 48 hours of the Ras Tanura strike, Brent crude shattered every projection, flirting with that $200 a barrel mark that the IRCG advisor predicted. We are not talking about a temporary fluctuation. We are talking about a structural shift. Every time a refinery in Saudi, or a loading dock in the UAE goes up in smoke. The price of gasoline in California and heating oil in New York jumps. Gold, the ultimate hedge against American stupidity, is going parabolic. Investors are fleeing the dollar because they realize that the petrodollar, the very foundation of U.S. economic dominance, is built on sand that is now soaked in burning crude. In the short term, this is causing panic. In the long term, this is decimating the ability of the U.S. to project power. You cannot project power when you can't fuel your ships. And you can't fuel your ships when your sailors are picking up the pieces of their bases in Bahrain. Speaking of Bahrain, let's zoom in on that little island, because it is the epitome of the Gulf betrayal. The Bahraini regime sold its soul for protection, hosting the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command, NAVCENT, and the previously mentioned Fifth Fleet. This base wasn't just a small outpost. It was the nerve center for everything the U.S. Navy does in the Middle East. It housed the mine-sweeping countermeasures, the patrol coastal ships, and the logistics hub for the entire region. The IRGC's strike on this base wasn't just a message. It was a surgical removal of the enemy's brain. By destroying the command headquarters, they have effectively blinded the American fleet in the Gulf. They are now operating without a head, which is why you are seeing disorganized attempts to respond rather than a cohesive strategy. And let's not forget Al Minhad Air Base in the UAE, a critical logistics hub for air operations, which was also hammered by ballistic missiles. The Gulf monarchies are now looking at the charred remains of their American protectors and realizing they bet on the wrong horse. Their skyscrapers are shaking, not just from the blasts, but from the fear that their 30-year security guarantee just expired. What Iran has done here is fundamentally alter the escalatory trajectory. By striking the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh and bases in Kuwait, they are showing that the green zone mentality is over. There is no safe space for American imperialism in the Middle East anymore. They are mocking the Gulf states publicly and militarily. These countries paid billions in petrodollars for Patriot batteries and advanced jets. And yet, Iranian missiles flew right through that so-called defense shield. The message is clear. Reliance on the United States is not a deterrent. It is a target. Well, the rage Iran are feeling is justified. For decades, the U.S. and Israel have acted with impunity, hiding behind the oil wealth of the Gulf. Now, the bill has come due. The economic strangulation of the United States is not just a military tactic. It is a moral imperative to stop the genocide and the meddling. By closing the Strait of Hormuz and torching the oil fields, Iran is not just fighting a war, it is redrawing the map. The age of the American petrodictator is ending, not with a whimper, but with the roar of Iranian missiles striking the very heart of Western hypocrisy. Thank you, stay tuned and subscribe because this is only the beginning. The axis of resistance is just getting warmed up.
It is what it is, baby. It is what it is. I'm here to tell you it's gonna get hot up in here. But don't trip. Don't trip, motherfucker. Y'all good? Y'all white folks are real good. Keep believing in your whiteness. Keep believing in your superiority. Keep believing that you're going to be okay because you're white. You can do whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and go wherever the fuck you want to go and do what the fuck you want to do. Just keep believing it. I want you to do that. I want you to do that motherfucking shit and believe in it. I want you to do that because you see, you fuck around and you find out. That's the only way you're going to learn, the hard way. We try to tell you the easier way, but no, we wanted to learn the hard way. So what's up next, baby? Let's see. The USS Decatur took 2 direct hits in 88 seconds. Operation Final Chapter ended. Let's get at it.
2026, 11:08 local time. The Strait of Hormuz. The USS Decatur has just made history. Not the kind of history anyone wanted. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer has become the first American warship since World War II to take 2 direct missile hits in a single engagement. The first Nor struck at 11:06:43, hitting the forward superstructure and killing 3 sailors. The second Nor struck at 11:08:11, hitting the aft section and starting fires that would burn for hours. 2 missiles, 2 hits. In 88 seconds, the Decatur went from combat ready to survival mode. I'm your host at U.S. Defense Review, where we analyze the military operations that define global security. The March 15th engagement was the final major attack of the Gulf confrontation. Not because Iran chose to stop, but because after the American response, they had nothing left to attack with. 26 minutes after the second missile struck, American forces began eliminating every remaining Iranian coastal defense asset in a coordinated strike that would finally end the war. Let's understand how this happened. The attack on the Decatur was Iran's last major offensive operation. By March 2028, 18 months of confrontation had devastated their military infrastructure. Missile batteries destroyed, naval bases eliminated, production facilities rubbled, research centers analysts knew Iran was reconstituting capability. They didn't know how much. The answer was enough. At 11:04, 2 Nor anti-ship missiles launched from concealed positions on the Iranian coast. The launches were coordinated, timed to arrive at the Decatur within seconds of each other. The destroyer's AN/SPY-1D radar detected both missiles at 11:04:32. Range 18 nautical miles. Time to impact approximately 130 seconds. 2 missiles. Plenty of time to engage. The Aegis system had intercepted similar attacks dozens of times during the confrontation. At 11:04:38, 2 SM-2 Block 3A missiles launched. Standard doctrine: 1 interceptor per threat. At 11:05:51, the first SM-2 reached its target. The intercept was successful. The leading Nor disintegrated 6 nautical miles from the Decatur. At 11:05:54, the second SM-2 engaged the trailing Nor. Miss. The Nor had executed a terminal maneuver at the worst possible moment. A sharp jink that threw off the SM-2's intercept solution. The interceptor detonated 35 meters from the target. Fragments struck the Nor, but didn't destroy it. Time to impact 48 seconds. Re-engage. Re-engage. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Park, the Tactical Action Officer, ordered. A third SM-2 launched at 11:06:02. The damaged Nor was closer now, inside 4 nautical miles. The engagement window was shrinking. At 11:06:28, the third SM-2 reached its target. Miss. The damaged Nor was flying erratically, its guidance degraded by the earlier fragmentation. The erratic flight made it harder to intercept, not easier. The SM-2's predictive algorithms couldn't anticipate where the wounded missile would be. Time to impact 15 seconds. The Phalanx CIWS engaged at 11:06:34. The 20mm rounds reached toward the incoming missile. Some connected. The Nor was shredded, but not stopped. Large fragments continued on ballistic trajectories toward the ship. At 11:06:43, the largest fragment, the Nor's warhead section, mostly intact, struck the USS Decatur's forward superstructure. The impact killed 3 sailors instantly.
Here's the reality.
Hold
Your
on.
college degree took 4 years and $100,000. AI skills, 20.
Signalman Second Class Robert Chen. Operations Specialist Third Class David Williams. Quartermaster Third Class Jennifer Park. They were on the bridge when the warhead detonated against the windows. Fought in the navigation room. The forward radar arrays were damaged. The ship's long-range communications were degraded. Captain Michael Thompson reached the bridge at 11:07:12, 29 seconds after impact. What he found was chaos resolving into order. The fire was being fought. The wounded were being evacuated. The damage was being assessed. And then the second alarm sounded. Vampire, missile inbound, bearing 067. A second attack. The Iranians hadn't launched 2 missiles. They had launched 4, and 2 had been held back. Time to arrive after the Decatur was damaged and distracted. The second pair had launched at 11:05, after the first 2 missiles were already in flight. They had followed a different flight path, approaching from a slightly different bearing. The Decatur's radar had been focused on the immediate threat. The second pair had been classified as possible contacts rather than confirmed threats. Now they were confirmed, and they were close. Range of detection, 6 nautical miles. Time to impact, approximately 40 seconds. The Aegis system responded automatically. 2 more SM-2s launched at 11:07:18. But the engagement geometry was terrible. Close range, short time, a ship already damaged and distracted. At 11:07:52, the first SM-2 intercepted the leading missile of the second pair. Kill. At 11:07:58, the second SM-2 engaged the final NOR. Proximity detonation. Fragments struck the missile. The NOR was damaged, but this time, not enough. At 11:08:11, the final NOR struck the USS Decatur. The impact point was the aft superstructure, near the helicopter hangar. The warhead detonated against the ship's exhaust stacks, sending blast and fragments into the engineering spaces below. 2 more sailors died. Engineman Second Class Michael Johnson. Gas turbine technician, Third Class Sarah Martinez. They were in the adjacent compartment when the warhead penetrated the structure. Fire erupted immediately. The helicopter, an MH-60R Seahawk, was caught in the blast. Its fuel tanks ruptured. The hangar became an inferno. The USS Decatur had been hit twice in 88 seconds. 5 sailors dead, a dozen wounded. Fires burning in 2 locations. Her combat capability severely degraded, but she wasn't sinking, and she wasn't helpless. At 11:10, Captain Thompson made his assessment. The ship was badly hurt. Forward superstructure damaged. Aft section burning. 5 confirmed dead. Multiple fires. Reduced radar capability. But propulsion was intact. The forward BLS cells were undamaged. The Tomahawk missiles were ready to fire. Weapons, Thompson said. Target both launch sites. Fire as fast as the system can cycle. At 11:11:14, the first Tomahawk launched. Then the second. Then the third. 4th. 5th. 6th. 7th. 8th. 8 missiles in 40 seconds. 4 per launch site. The Decatur emptied her ready Tomahawk inventory, while her crew fought fires and treated wounded. Thompson's transmission reached 5th Fleet at 11:13. 5th Fleet, Decatur. We have been hit twice. 5 KIA, 12 wounded. Ship heavily damaged, but still fighting. Have launched 8 Tomahawks at launch sites. Request, he paused, considering his words. Request you finish this. End it. Whatever it takes. Vice Admiral Richardson received the message at 11:15. Whatever it takes. The Decatur was the 12th American ship hit during the Gulf confrontation. She had suffered the most hits in a single engagement. Her captain was asking for an end. Richardson intended to deliver one. At 11:18, he authorized Operation Final Chapter. Not a strike, an elimination. Every Iranian military asset within range of the Gulf. Every missile battery. Every radar site. Every command center. Every facility that could threaten American ships. The target list was the most extensive of the entire war. 47 separate facilities across the Iranian coastline and interior. The assets converged from across the theater. The Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group contributed 32 F/A, 18 E/F Super Hornets, and 8 EA-18 G Growlers. The guided missile submarines, USS Michigan and USS Florida, launched a combined 60 Tomahawk missiles. The cruisers and destroyers of 2 separate surface action groups added 48 more Tomahawks. 4 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, forward deployed to Diego Garcia, carried 64 precision-guided munitions. 8 B-52 H Stratofortress bombers contributed 192 JASSM cruise missiles. Total strike package, over 100 Tomahawks, nearly 200 JAS-SMs, 64 bomber-delivered JDAMs, 40 plus carrier aircraft with precision munitions. Target set. 47 facilities. Everything that remained of Iran's ability to threaten ships. At 11...
Mi ex me invitó a su boda. Llevo un mes sin ella, entrenando como militar 15 minutos cada día.
At 11:34, 26 minutes after the Decatur was hit, the first weapon struck. The 2 launch sites that had attacked the Decatur died first. The Decatur's 8 Tomahawks, plus additional missiles from the surface group. Nothing survived. Then the cascade began. Between 11:34 and 13:45, American weapons struck every Iranian military facility within 300 kilometers of the Gulf Coast. Missile batteries destroyed. 12 sites confirmed eliminated. Naval bases destroyed. The rebuilt facilities at Bandar Abbas, Bushehr, and Jask were struck again, this time with overwhelming force. Radar installations destroyed. 18 sites went dark permanently. Command centers destroyed. The facilities that had coordinated Iranian operations were obliterated. Ammunition storage destroyed. Thousands of missiles, rockets, and munitions were cooked off in chain reaction explosions. The B-2S struck targets deep inside Iran, facilities that had been off limits in previous strikes, research centers, production plants, the infrastructure that could rebuild Iranian capability. By 1400, the strikes were complete. Damage assessment took weeks to compile fully. The summary was overwhelming. 47 facilities targeted. 43 facilities destroyed or rendered non-operational. 4 facilities partially damaged. Estimated Iranian military personnel casualties: 1,200 to 1,500. Estimated missile and rocket inventory destroyed: 500 plus. Estimated coastal defense capability remaining: less than 10% of pre-war levels. Iran's ability to threaten ships in the Persian Gulf was effectively eliminated. The USS Decatur limped to Bahrain, escorted by 3 other destroyers. Her fires were extinguished by 1,500. Her wounded were evacuated by helicopter. Her dead were prepared for transport home. The repair assessment was extensive. 6 months for the forward superstructure, 4 months for the aft section. She would return to service eventually. Captain Thompson received the Navy Cross. His decision to launch counterstrikes while his ship was burning from 2 separate hits was cited as extraordinary combat leadership. The 5 sailors who died, Chen, Williams, Park, Johnson, Martinez, were buried with full military honors. Their names were the last American casualties of the Gulf confrontation, because Operation Final Chapter ended the war. Not immediately, not officially, but practically. Iran had nothing left to fight with. Their missile batteries were destroyed. Their naval bases were rubble. Their command structure was dead. Their production facilities were eliminated. They could rebuild, eventually. But rebuilding would take years, and the demonstrated American willingness to destroy everything suggested that rebuilding would only invite more destruction. Negotiations began 2 weeks after Operation Final Chapter. The ceasefire was signed 6 weeks after that. The Gulf confrontation, 18 months of attacks, counterattacks, escalation, and devastation, was over. The final accounting: American casualties: 127 killed in action, 412 wounded. Iranian military casualties: 4,000 to 5,000 estimated. American ships damaged: 12. American ships sunk: 0. Iranian ships sunk: 7. Iranian submarines sunk: 2. Iranian military facilities destroyed: 200 plus. The exchange rate was devastating. For Iran, catastrophically so. The United States had maintained freedom of navigation in the Persian Gulf. Oil had continued flowing. American allies had remained protected. Iran had lost their navy, their coastal defense capability, their ballistic missile program, their drone program, and their EMP program. They had killed 127 Americans and lost 5,000 of their own. 26 minutes. That's how long it took from the Decatur's second hit to the beginning of the final American response. 26 minutes to end a war. The Decatur is back in service now. She carries the battle stars of an engagement that nearly destroyed her. She carries the memory of 5 sailors who died defending her. And she carries the knowledge that she was the last ship hit. The ship that triggered the final strike. The ship that ended the war. That's history worth remembering. Stay informed. Stay vigilant.
Man, that shit was before, motherfucker. We're talking about 3/3/26, motherfucker. That shit is dead in the water. All that shit is gone. Bahrain is no more as far as a stable place, location for American hegemony and ship awareness and preparation. It is no more. It takes 3 days to get to end it and 3 days back. That's a week. Bitch, please. What you were talking about, what you just heard, that shit was fantasy a long time ago. That happened a long time. They ain't talking about now. They're not talking about now. And so as we move forward, we're going to be looking at the admission of this defeat that America is facing. And how the fuck do you explain this to the families who are putting their children's lives at risk for this Epstein pedophile war? That's what it's all about. White boys having and wanting to continue to fuck little boys and girls in the ass and eating them. You're gonna see this tonight. You're gonna see the admission of this motherfucking shit. Fucking shit is crazy and it's pissing me the fuck up. I cannot stand these motherfuckers. Our ancestors never liked these motherfuckers. We killed them, got them out of Egypt and Greece and Rome. We should have ended their motherfucking ass then. But you know what? All good. This is the 3rd time that we done civilized the ass. 3 strikes, you out. There's no more. There's a fatwa and a holy war that Iran had declared, and it is not going anywhere. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Good Lord. You can't tell white folk nothing. You can't tell that white boy nothing. He know every motherfucking thing. And he white. See? He white. You understand? I'm white and I say so. Netanyahu admits he has longed to attack Iran 40 years. I'll be right the fuck back. Hold on.
Apparently, threats from Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis is what led to the United States carrying out the first strikes against Iran. In fact, Marco Rubio says that there was absolutely an imminent threat, and it was that we knew that if Iran was attacked by Israel, and we believe that they would be attacked, they would immediately come after us, and we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow. In other words, Israel was going to attack, and if they did that, Iran was going to attack the United States, so we decided to attack first. That was the rationale. If you think that's a good reason to attack a country, and if you think that Israel is somehow an ally to the United States, hopefully you are as far away from making decisions about foreign policy as humanly possible. Now, let's check in with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who wrote on X, quote, "We are in a campaign in which we are bringing the full might of the IDF as never before to this battle to ensure our existence and our future." Mind you, we're talking about a country that has a clandestine nuclear program and is not in any way threatened. Its existence is not threatened in any way. He continues, "But we are also bringing to this campaign the support of the United States, my friend, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the U.S. military. 6 of our soldiers have already died for Israel in this war." He continues, "This combination of forces enables us to do what I have longed to do for 40 years, to strike the terrorist regime hip and thigh. That is what I promised, and that is what we will do." Speaking of the Israeli government, by the way, today Secretary of State Marco Rubio did make that statement that I read to you earlier. I wanted to read you what he said. Now I want you to watch what he said. Take a look.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
He continued to say, we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we'd suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher than those killed. So let me just say, then the enemy is Israel. The enemy is Israel. If you're worried about Israel launching an attack, which would then make American soldiers in the region vulnerable to Iran's attacks, then Israel is not an ally. But he would never say that, of course.
Yeah, there was two admissions there. So first is, so Israel did push us into the war.
Of course.
You said, well, Israel was going to attack, so we didn't have a choice. Well, here's a choice. Hey, Israel, we're giving you $330 billion. If you attack without getting our permission, you won't get a single more dollar, and we will not help your attack. Who's the boss of who? Because if you just listen to Marco Rubio there, you would think that Israel is the much larger nation. We're the tiny little nation, and we got to listen to them because they're so powerful. Well, if Israel was going to go, then we were forced to go. Why? He just admitted we have no control over Israel, and they have complete control over us. But the second part is even worse. Did Israel use that as leverage against us? Hey, we could go without you, and if we do, then your guys will be caught off guard, and a lot more Americans will die. So you better attack when we tell you. That's what it sounded like he said.
That's exactly. But that's what happened, Jim. That's what happened. These are not our allies.
Okay? That's not an ally, man.
And abused. They don't care about our lives. They don't care about our soldiers' lives. They suck the life out of this country. And now they're looking to India to see if they could suck the life out of that country. And it looks like Narendra Modi opening up his legs to Israel. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That can't happen soon enough, by the way. Okay, I would love to have Israel off our backs because they are destroying our country. They dragged us into previous conflicts and wars that we should have not been involved in at all. And now we're sucked into this war, which has escalated. It's become a regional war.
I just real quick on the. I met a Muslim man from India today. He's not the end-all be-all. It's just one guy, right? But what he told me was, Israel's now working with the Indian government. And what Israel is doing is driving hatred towards Muslims, just like they did here in the U.S., so that India will help Israel attack their Muslim neighbors.
Unfortunately, that was already a thing in India. So
but no, exactly right. So they're like, there's a little bit of a fire there. Let's pour fuel on that fire. And so, and he said now his relatives are getting attacked in northern India because they've riled up the Hindus so much. Remember, hate the Muslims. Same guys who complain about bigotry nonstop. Anti-Semitism. They're like, hate the Muslims. In India, in America, everywhere. Their whole driving agenda is hate the Muslims, so you help murder them for us, and so we can take their land. And these are the guys complaining about bigotry. Please, the Israelis, we have to get them out of our government completely. Let India deal with them, okay? Or wherever they're going to go next. But get them get them out of our government because they're dug in. So look at our Secretary of State like a dog. Going there going, well, Israel ordered us to, so we had to go. Otherwise, more Americans would have died. And so obviously, since we can't disagree with the mighty Israelis, Before more Americans died for Israel, we had to attack so that other Americans would die for Israel. So my last question in that regard is, who's going to be the last American to die for Israel in this war? Already 6 Americans dead. And we're going to keep track, and every day they're going to add new dead Americans for Israel's war. This has nothing to do with us. Nothing. Their ballistic missiles can't reach us. Their nuclear facilities are obliterated twice over. Their entire regime is killed. 49 dead, including the Ayatollah. Nothing to do with us. But no, all of the politicians, the disgusting, corrupt politicians in D.C., the disgusting, corrupt media, all telling us, no, you have to bow your head. And if you dare object to Israel, we're going to call you names and try to eliminate you from the national conversation. But they have no control here. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his.
Boy, I tell you. This is going to be it. This is it. Not going to be it. This is it. A holy war has been declared by Iran on white people. United States, Israel, Europe. A holy war. That means all the gloves are off. That means terror is coming to the doorstep for white people. Now, you know, already seen Trump talking about, I'm sorry, Iran, can we talk? Can we do it? Can we have a ceasefire? No, bitch. See, that's dead in the water. You went to Geneva. They had it written down. They had a peace thing going. He didn't want that shit because Israel didn't want it. You turned it down, and you struck first. This war is a war declared by Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of President Trump, and the nation of Israel for the right to build their coastal paradise in Gaza and to steal fucking oil. See, white folks, they love to steal, man, and kill. The only thing they brought to the table is death, destruction, disease, and despair. Catch that motherfucker, please, Iran. Catch Jared Kushner and cut his fucking head off and let his wife see it. I'm serious, a motherfucking heart attack. There's $100 million bounty on the head of Trump. Trump ain't no motherfucking goddamn Q, bitch. Fuck you. This shit is beyond this motherfucking shit. I've been aware of the maritime law, the Corporation of America, and the Republic of America, and land law. I know about that. I know about Nestor Augusta. But where the fuck is it, bitch? We got to go through all this shit just to get to that motherfucker? Then it ain't worth it. Over 1,000 Americans have died so far. And many more that's going to die. Woo. Boy, oh boy, boy. White people fleeing the West and now taking over African beaches. Locals want them out immediately. I'll be right back.
There's a video of these Europeans who have a whites-only restaurant in Senegal. The audio is translated to English. Look.
I must say that I take the Senegalese people as witnesses to this. You cannot be in Senegal, open a restaurant, and in less than a month, you say between French and Italians. No. The Senegalese people must say no to this. This cannot continue. I call for an uprising. I call to get rid of this because it is unacceptable that in Senegal, being Senegalese, it is shared between Italians and Senegalese. That is unacceptable. I call on the Senegalese people to kick these people out, to leave Senegal. This is a call for insurrection, for you to leave Senegal. It has to happen. It has to stop. It's time for the Senegalese people to realize this. It's happening between the French and Italians, you know? It's time for the Senegalese people to take the lead, you know? That is unacceptable. We call on the Senegalese people to revolt. We tell the Senegalese people, wake up, make sure that all these people who go to our beach leave. It is time that we get out of.
And it also went viral on X. You can see French immigrants in Senegal have opened a restaurant that is whites only, allowed only for the French and Italian people. Personally, I think that Senegalese man had a right to be angry. You can see that these Europeans are living a life of luxury while discriminating on Africans in Africa.
Hi everyone, welcome to yet another video. It's Ndagiro here. Thanks for clicking on this video. We're going to be talking about a situation that is actually happening in Senegal, as you've seen. This is something that I've always shared about, Pan people when they go to other countries apart from their Western nations, and they feel entitled. But also, I don't want to take out the people in the continent because they kind of also let this happen. Because tell me why you are putting up an establishment that could actually cater for everybody, but then you have the audacity in an African continent to say, oh, whites only restaurant. Are we crazy? Like, seriously, at this point in 2026, are we crazy that we are still doing this? It's just not okay. I don't think if African people or Black people were to do the same thing, in Western nations, especially African people, I don't think they will be given that liberty of, putting up establishments in, Western nations, Asian nations, and, just say like, yo, no Asian people allowed or no white people allowed. I don't think that would be acceptable. Why are we letting this happen in the continent? Like, this really was a disappointment, especially that it's coming from Senegal, a country that also is fighting, the French, government from its territory. Like, I always share videos of how West African countries are really pushing away, Western nations, especially France, from their countries, right? So seeing that this kind of things are actually happening is wild. But also when it comes to Pan people, I don't know what gives them the audacity to, go to people's countries and just feel entitled that, they just need to have their own space. I'm like, if you feel that way, why not just stay the Western nations in your own countries and, be surrounded by people that look like you than to come into, a Black-dominated country, setting up a restaurant and then saying that no other Black person, no African person should access that place except people that look like you, people. That's insane to me. And this is not only happening in Senegal, it's happening in a lot of Black-dominated countries, in a lot of African countries, and we need to start calling this out. I've come across a lot of videos of Black people from different African countries literally talking about the same issue. This is crazy. For those of you who somehow still need this annual reminder, Black South Africans enjoying the beach in South Africa is not an invasion. We are not taking over. We are taking it back. Okay, so if you are in Camps Bay and you're unhappy that the crowd of people at the beach are made up of mostly Black people, then I hear Mallorca is very nice in June and you can go enjoy the crowds there.
So if you're dark in color, just know that if you come to Zanzibar, you're going to experience racism. And it's from guests. It's like other people who've come from white-dominated countries coming to our countries, they're going to show you nah.
So you may not realize this, but cinnamon wasn't meant to be used on its own. The sale we didn't plan.
So the people of St. Lucia's are protesting because white people are moving there, buying a property, privatizing the public beaches, and then posting stuff like this. Watch.
It has its own private beach that's very sandy, the waters are calm, and there's lots of water sports perfect for paddleboarding and kayaking. They have kayaking and paddleboarding, great lounge chairs, a nice sandy beach. The beach here at Calabash Cove is excellent. You have your own private area with a pier that you can have some dinners on. They have a grassy area or a sandy area, because not everybody loves getting sand on their feet, so I like the grass option.
You heard in that video continue to say private, right? The beaches in St. Lucia's are not private. They may seem private, but they're all public. So what the people of St. Lucia's have been protesting is white people literally putting up signs, keeping them off their own beaches. And their protest is working because this was on Fair Helen Beach. And in the video, you can see white people just be like, no, I'm out of here if there's going to be a lot of the locals here. Also, in the video, they can be heard singing a protest song called Jack, the Beach is Mine by the Mighty Gabby, with lyrics like, Jack don't want me to bathe on my beach. And look, the beach is mine. I can bathe anytime despite what they say. I go there anyway. The people of St. Lucia did the right thing because these are the new colonizers. They're moving to these areas, pushing out the locals, and then making videos to show other white people how to do it.
Now, another thing I have to talk about Zanzibar is if you come to Zanzibar, be prepared for the racism. Like, everybody acknowledges that there is racism.
They tried doing this in Seychelles, which is the country that I'm from, and luckily they were stopped before it got worse. Okay, so Seychelles is a group of 115 islands that is located off the east coast of Africa, pretty much near the equator, and that's where I'm from. And the population of Seychelles is 100,000, so it's not that big. And the main population is situated on the main island, which is Mahé, which is where I'm from and where I grew up. Obviously, because it is a touristic destination that has beautiful beaches, there are some well-known hotels that are situated within Seychelles. 6-star, 5-star, 4-star. And some of these, and then restrict the locals from coming to the beach, which might I add, the beach was there before they arrived. And there was a massive uproar about this because obviously these big chain hotel companies would then use arguments such as the people don't feel safe when the locals are enjoying their beach, which not only was that colonization, but it's the entitlement for a foreign body to build a hotel in another part of the world and then claim the land and the beach as theirs. So a massive uproar happened where the locals in Seychelles protested and actually made law that if hotels around the island were found to tell people that they should not trespass and visit these beaches, they would be fined. But that said, you'll be surprised, a lot of those hotels still do this. Also, another thing about Seychelles is if you are not from there, you can't buy a piece of land or buy a house because you have to either have Seychelles ancestry or have a relative that lives in Australia with direct descendant of someone from Seychelles. And you must have a Seychelles passport, which is very hard if you don't have a family member that's not from the island. So how the white people got around this is they built their own little private island called Eden Island, which is another separate island that is off the coast of Mahé, where they could buy properties such as these houses, which cost up to 1.2, 1.3 US. I'm talking about millions of dollars, which a foreign person can acquire. And a lot of people might say this is ridiculous, but a small island nation should not be giving their land to people who are not citizens of the Seychelles and only want to purchase these pieces of land for them to build houses, for them to make a profit out of it, when that's actually what they did before this law was implemented.
This is the same thing that I shared about Mexico, where Palm people went to Mexico and they were putting up only Palm people's places, and people had to go and burn down those places. Literally, because the entitlement is crazy. It is crazy. I mean, I share every time on how there are certain places in the continent, like especially at the coast, where people that look like me are literally, like the natives are denied access to their own beaches. That also happened in Jamaica. I shared videos about that. Like, all these things make you question why, our people in our own countries are also letting this happen. It's same thing when it comes to, real estate, where, in some places, I would say in East African countries, they want to be paid in dollars because, they want to attract Western people. There are places where you cannot really rent as a native, and it's reserved for them people. It's like a virus of their, like, I don't know if I should even call it privilege. It's like they live in a world not caring about consequences or what people are going to think or how they are towards other groups of people, but just so self-centered as a people, and it's just not okay. Like I said, I'm not trying to, excuse people in our own countries as well that are letting this happen, because why would you let such an establishment, be in place when your own people, the African people, are being discriminated from entering the establishment, but they are on the African soil? Like, it's just insane to me. Like, logically, I can't process it. And I just love that, this was exposed and people are starting to call out these kind of behaviors, these kind of things. I saw in the comments where people were like, you need to just go as a mob and literally take down that place, because we cannot be living in a world, especially in our own countries in the continent of Africa, and still feel like we don't belong in our own land. Like, that is unacceptable. These people need to reach a point where they really understand that the world does not have to revolve around them, and whatever they are doing is actually hurting other groups of people. There is really a lot of gentrification that actually goes on when Western people come into, the so-called third world countries, as they refer to them. Like, things just, move differently for the natives, and it's just unfair. I must say, it's just not okay. There is really a lot of, like, there's a lot of laws that really need to be put in place for them people to understand that there is consequences to their behaviors, there is consequences to the things they do in nations outside of their countries. So we need to really call out on their BS and say things as they are. You're not going to come into the continent of Africa and make us still feel less than in our own countries. Like, it's just not okay. This was really not okay. Like, I saw this video and I was like, we as Africans really need to do better. We should not accept this kind of establishments to exist in our continent, because we will not be given the same grace when it comes to their countries. Like, that is the reality. That is the freaking reality. So make it make sense. This is insane. This is insane. Like, the entitlement is growing hard. I don't know if it's because of their president, Trump. Like, he's giving them this kind of ego, like, we can go and do whatever we want and there's no consequences. It's not okay. We need to call out on their BS and really expose it, because what is that? Like, what is that? Guys, that is it for me today's video. Let me know what you think about this. Yeah, that's what is actually going on. Thanks for watching. I will see you in another video. Bye.
If you're hearing these words, look, what need to be done, this is just me, they need to sue in the courts of the Seychelles Islands or wherever this is happening at, and win. I pray that the black people in the court system there will take their side and sue them for $250 million. That means they take every fucking property that they got plus them. Real fucking simple. Real fucking simple. So, we're here, let's see, at the juncture with Iran again, and the historic humiliation of Israel and U.S. at the UN. I'll be right the fuck back.
Iran does not seek escalation, but Iran will not surrender its sovereignty. As long as aggression continues, Iran will defend itself decisively and without hesitation.
Now, Abdullah, what was the rationale behind attacking other countries, including Iraq, the UAE, Qatar, and some other countries, Iraqi Kurdistan as well?
As I mentioned, we are not attacking the interests of our neighboring countries. We are defending ourselves. We are targeting the facilities and the bases and the assets of the United States in this country, in those countries which is out of the control of the host countries. Thank you. Good afternoon. In the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful, I will make a brief and clear statement. On 28 February 2026, the United States, in full coordination with Israel, launched a second deliberate and unprovoked military attack against the Islamic Republic of Iran. This was a calculated act of aggression. Major cities and densely populated civilians areas were targeted. Hundreds of innocent civilians lost their lives, many more were wounded. This is a flagrant violation of the Charter of the United Nations, especially Article 2, Paragraph 4, which strictly prohibits the threat or use of force against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of any state. It is a direct assault on the foundations of international law. The Security Council convened an emergency meeting on Saturday. The facts were clear. The aggression was clear. Responsibility also was clear. In a reckless and unprecedented escalation, the United States and Israel deliberately targeted the supreme leader of Islamic Republic of Iran and many high military officials. Targeting the highest official of a sovereign UN member state is an egregious breach of international law and a direct attack on sovereign equality. Such conduct endangered the entire international system. The United States and the Israeli regime
are deliberately targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure. The schools, hospitals, Red Cross facilities, and residential buildings were attacked. On the first day of the aggression, the girls' school in Minab, a small town in Hormozgan province in southern Iran, was deliberately destroyed. As a result, 165 innocent school girls were martyred. I repeated, 165 school girls martyred. Their bodies were recovered from a robot after hours of rescue efforts. On the same day, similar attacks martyred several hundred students in other cities, including Eastern Tehran and Abyek in Gazvin province. But just this afternoon, the ambassador of the Israeli regime from this very podium resorted to lies and fabrications, shamelessly denying and ignoring the crimes committed by this regime against children and innocent civilians in Iran. Yesterday, further strike targeted Red Crescent building, Motahari, Gandhi, and Khatam hospitals in Tehran, Abu Zaz hospitals in Ahvaz, 3 emergency checkpoints in Sarab, Chabahar, and Hamadan, as well as residential building in northern Tehran. This morning, missiles struck a densely populated residential area in Sanandaj in Kurdistan province. The full number of casualties is still being verified. These acts constitute aggression. They constitute war crimes. They constitute crimes against humanity. The United States cannot remain silent. The United Nations cannot remain silent. Accountability is not optional. It is deeply shameful and hypocritical that only the very first day of its presidency of the Security Council, the United States convened a high-level meeting on protecting children, technology, and education in armed conflict under the agenda item maintenance of international peace and security, while at the same time launching missile strikes against Iranian cities and bombing schools and killing children. For the United States, protecting children and maintaining international peace and security clearly mean something very different from the UN Charter provides. Words about peace and protection cannot cover acts of aggression. Let's make no mistake, there was no imminent threat from Iran. Our nuclear program is exclusively peaceful. We were engaged in serious diplomatic negotiations. For the second time, the United States chose force over diplomacy and violated the Charter. There are no legal grounds that justify this attack. The so-called preemptive attack has no basis in international law. The prohibition on the use of force is absolute, except in self-defense against an armed attack. Iran is exercising its inherent right to self-defense under Article 51 of the Charter. Our response is lawful, necessary, and proportionate. We target only the military objectives of the hostile forces. We don't target civilians. We don't target the interests of neighboring states. Under international law, every state has a duty not to allow its territory to be used for acts of aggression against another state. Member states must exercise due diligence to prevent their territory from being used by foreign forces to attack other countries. Iran does not seek war. Iran does not seek escalation, but Iran will not surrender its sovereignty. The issue before the international community is clear. Can a powerful state attack another sovereign member of the United Nations with impunity? If the answer is yes, then the Charter is meaningless. If the answer is no, then this aggression must be condemned and stopped. Double standard will destroy the credibility of this concept. Silence will embolden further lawlessness. As long as aggression continues, Iran will defend itself decisively and without hesitation. The Security Council must act firmly, clearly, and without ambiguity. I thank you for your kind attention.
What was the rationale behind attacking other countries, including Iraq, the UAE, Qatar, and some other countries, Iraqi Kurdistan as well?
As I mentioned, we are not attacking the interests of our neighboring countries. We are defending ourselves. We are targeting the facilities and the bases and the assets of the United States in this country, in those countries, which is out of the control of the host countries.
Okay, another question.
Jacob, varón.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Do you want to watch more videos like this one?
Okay, we're at that juncture. We're almost in the X. And when I tell you that I have found some hella things that will blow your fucking brains out, it is just horrible. But it's factual. It cannot be denied. Now, one of the things I wanted to do, I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm not going to play it because it's 43 minutes long. U.S. military vets respond to Iran threats. And they're saying, blow their motherfucking asses up. Vete para allá. Háblalo. Hold on, let me put this in the chat. So that anybody that wants to see that, they can see it. And here we got, this isn't going well. I like this guy. He's just a matter of fact, telling it like it is. I'll be right back.
Yeah, because I've tweeted out the jet. The jet has gone down. That is crazy. That's in my. Let me actually put it in the nest so you guys.
Okay, so here's the jet crash.
You know, when you think about it, the whole of a lot of these Gulf countries, they are supposed to be extremely safe. So the fact that they're being bombed from Iran and now American fighter jets are essentially making mistakes and crashing on the ground over there, it doesn't really bode well, for these countries overall, because they've outsourced all of their defense, to America. So this is going to cause a lot of economic problems for them too. That's how UAE attracts all this business. It's supposed to be, one of the safest places in the region, and now they're getting lit up. So it's definitely not good for them.
Everyone leave the UAE. Escape. Save yourself. It is a demonic state. And in addition to that, you're no longer safe. They shouldn't have banned me. They shouldn't have banned me, boy. They shouldn't have banned this innocent person, this nice guy who's all about love. This is what happens. UAE, you're the epitome of all evil. You're the epitome of all evil. But yeah, that's happened with the with the jet. The jet has gone down in Kuwait. The jet has gone down in Kuwait.
Hold on.
The tail, I'm not an aviation expert, but the tail is it's like an F-35, guys. I don't know. I'm not going to hang. I'm not expert.
Yeah, it's I can't tell, to be honest, between it could be either the F-35 or the F-18. But yeah, I can see why both of you are saying possibly either one of the two. But yeah, that's done. We got any information on how it went down by any chance or no?
Well, you see something there. It was hit. Looks like there's a white plume and like a flash, and that's when it starts going down. So it looks like it was hit.
Some people said F-15. Some people said F-18. And Nathan said Ryan is right. It's an F-18. Did you get confirmation?
So if I mute the tab, can y'all still hear it? Because sometimes I don't. I want to talk over what they're saying, but I can't.
You know, I'm not a lady. I'd have to listen to their space.
It's an F-18, right? I get to be able to mute when I want to.
Okay. Wow, Ryan, way to go, bro.
How did it
Are you all still hearing?
By visual.
Oh, like you looked at it and you said it's F-18 as well.
Yeah, so I went and got two pictures, and I compared the two, and then obviously the wing. If you look at it, the two bottom wings are going down. If you look at a F-18, you'll see it's the exact same replica of what you see. So you have the first wing section where it comes down, work. The triangle goes cross, and then you have the bottom fin sections that come out angled.
All right, my bad. Yeah, it doesn't work. I can mute the tab, and it doesn't. There's like a separate sound source for me than there is for you. It still sends you the audio, but I don't hear it. So we had that confusion yesterday. So I don't know how to traverse that, but Crushing Might, thank you for that. Bonesaw, huh? I'll take it. Oh. I'm confused. Why are we still hearing audio? Oh, it's because it's from my phone. My bad. All right. I was confused because I was still hearing the space. But it's not there. All right. I am no longer confused. Here is some new reports just in. Ali Larijani, who I believe isn't that the new Ayatollah? It says the Secretary of the Supreme National. Oh no, he's the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council of Iran. Just in case you didn't know that. He says Trump plunged the region into chaos with his delusional fantasies and now fears more American troop casualties. With his delusional actions, he turned his self-made America First slogan into Israel First and sacrificed American soldiers for Israel's power-hungry ambitions. And with new fabrications, it is once again imposing the cost of assassinating its own character on American soldiers and families. Today, the Iranian nation is defending itself. The armed forces of Iran did not initiate the aggression. 50 minutes ago, death toll from Israeli airstrikes on southern Lebanon has risen to 20. Here's another impact in Jerusalem. Boom, 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 Jerusalem. According to Trump, he says, I got him, meaning Khomeini, before he got me. They tried twice while I got him first. They didn't try twice. That's fine. John Bolton.
Put that back up.
Boom, 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 Jerusalem. According to Trump, he says, I got him, meaning Khomeini, before he got me. They tried twice while I got him first. They didn't try twice. That is such a lie. John Bolton says regime change in Iran will not be achieved. Yeah, in other news, the sky's blue, John. More like John Dolt, and right, idiot. Israeli army calling and threatening Lebanese citizens. A threat via a call to citizens in southern Lebanon speaking on behalf of the Israeli enemy army. Breaking, New York financier Jeffrey Epstein has been killed by an Iranian missile in Tel Aviv. No, Jeffrey.
Don't go. Too soon. Too soon to be making those jokes. You still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, guys? And meanwhile, the Dow is at 50K? You fuckers are heartless. Still talking about some dead dude. How many Americans have to get Allahu Akbar before we realize Islam is a problem? What a fucking jerk. Shut up, loser. We made a 100 million AI movie about Operation Epic Fury in less than one day. Yes, this is 100% AI. Wow, they've already made a $100 million AI movie about Operation Epic Fury. I'm so excited. Let's give a look. J.D. Vance. Man, talk about Oompa Loompa. One of the chatters said that I look like Oompa Loompa, but like, what do you got on this guy? This is me if I just had no aspirations in life. I like how he's got like plumber boots on. I don't think that's what you need to be wearing as a fighter pilot, but for an operation called Epic Fury. It's like the Gladiator scene where he's in the wheat fields and he's got his hand out. Fucking asshole, alright? I don't need you to... Like, I already made a joke at my own expense. That's not license for you to say, oh, yeah, let's lather it on. Let's make this streamer feel more uncomfortable than he already is.
Hold on.
أنا نسمع الناس حامل معسكر جباليا.
He does have beautiful blue eyes to these freaking songs. Simon and Garfunkel. Holy shit, that is a fat bastard. I didn't know J.D. Vance was 4'3", little munchkin. Wow. That was hard R. That was highly regarded. True. We did see a photo of it, so I guess maybe the photo is spurious of it as well. But it looked like the whole Hyatt building was just blown the fuck out. What the hell is this?
Feel like I'm getting deja vu. But this is like a rock war #2. A rock war #2. I like the look of those oil supplies. I'd be ashamed if someone invaded you. If someone invaded you. And I ran so far away. From them night and day. But just so you would say.
Oh my god, it's like a whole song with like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus.
A drone appears above your head. A mower bomb comes falling down on you. Falling down on you. The fleet is moving nearer still. The Strait of Hormuz, it comes in view. The oil must flow through. And I ran so far away.
Kind of does sound like how Trump would sing if Trump sang.
I ran upon them night and day, but destroy USA.
Imagining Trump as an emo artist.
Well, he's a con artist, that's for sure.
J.D. Vance, man. He's just meme to death. No, wait, fuck him. Not poor J.D. Vance. Sorry. I almost threw up after saying that.
A tiny hand hits a big red button. Atomic bombs come falling down on you. Mushroom clouds in view. Send out a tweet to let you know. World War III, 'cause Israel told me to. All for Netanyahu.
Ooh, got him. He's the cameraman.
And
He's producer Berg, of course.
and I ran so far away.
I love how there's these crazy drum fills, and then you just cut to Marco Rubio, and he's like not doing them.
Upon my red, upon them night and day, and I ran so far away. Upon my red, upon them night and day, destroyed USA.
I'm going to explain it. It sounds like it doesn't have nothing to do with this shit, but it does. Hold on.
It's funny, it's pretty awesome. I just wonder how many, I mean, not to be a bugaboo or a buzzkill, but I just wonder how many children in Kenya are starved for that video. Just so we can have this AI slop, Because I'm just alluding to the fact that the AI supply chain is completely exploitative and should be abolished, but that's another discussion. Here's a shot of Jerusalem. Sweet home, Jerusalem. That's my favorite. To say I told you so. Alright.
Wow.
Send it to me in the Discord.
Oh my gosh.
It's like watching a wide receiver slip past the cornerback and the free safety, and he just goes Hail Mary for a touchdown. Look at all these interceptors. Sometimes it's hard to tell which one's the missile and which one's the interceptor. So it's just cool, flying above your heads, just a couple 100 million blown up. There goes my healthcare money. Sweet home, Jerusalem. Massive explosion being reported in Bahrain. Have a look at this. My goodness. What would you do if you had this barreling to? I would go the other way, I'd tell you. Yeah, I don't know why are these cars going into the smoke? Tell me, break the news. Jerusalem's getting shellacked right now? Another captured American fighter down in Kuwait. People are talking about the cost of all this and how it's unsustainable. Iran fires one missile, costs $250K. America fires 11 Patriot interceptors to stop it, cost $44 million. It's that same math that the Houthis noted. So it doesn't seem like this is a sustainable thing, People are going after Ian Miles Chong. I don't know who that is. Never heard of him, but apparently he's a Zionist shill.
Now look, it seems as though that it had nothing to do with what this night and this war is all about. But anything that can distract the average mindset of Americans, especially MAGA, to make it look like they're cool, they're on the cutting edge of what they may be. Hold on. on what? Yeah, it's a little cookie that fell on the carpet here, but with ants and shit. But anyway, uh, anything that's going to distract this defeat from Trump and the Trump administration and America is all good. Anything that's going to distract from the death of Americans being brought back and draped American flag coffins is good. Anything that's going to be able to take the mind of America off of the situation is good. But it's like a band-aid on a shotgun wound. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Never worked before, and it's not going to work now. And the fact that now we are in a holy war. Iran is in a holy war with America and Israel and Europe and white folks in general. They're not going to stop. It is a matter of fact that the destruction of this white fucking demon is here to stay. And no matter how they try to distract, no matter how they try to beg, no matter how they try to lean in on a willful ear, a cheerful ear, a caring ear to Iran, Iran is saying no. There's no peace. And to be quite honest with you, the white boy and girl cannot live with anyone, especially themselves, in peace. They are totally, woefully, regrettably disagreeable. They have always been like that, and will always be like that. There's no turning back from that. I will bring this up. We got a 14-minute video. I'll be right back.
Rooms of Washington that the mainstream media simply refuses to talk about honestly, and I think you deserve to know what it actually is. The USS Abraham Lincoln, one of the most powerful warships ever built by human hands, a floating fortress carrying billions of dollars in aircraft, weapons, and thousands of American lives, is operating right now in a body of water that Iran has spent 30 years turning into a carefully engineered kill zone. And the people sending that ship there either don't understand what they've built on the other side, or they understand it perfectly and are gambling with American lives anyway. Neither possibility should give you any comfort. Because what we are looking at right now, if you strip away the political theater and the Pentagon press briefings and the comfortable illusions about American invincibility, is a strategic situation that is genuinely more dangerous than almost anything this country has faced in living memory. And the worst part, almost nobody in a position of power is telling you the truth about it. So let's just sit with that for a moment, because I think most people, when they hear something like this, their first instinct is to dismiss it. They say, oh, Iran? Come on. The United States has the most powerful navy in the history of human civilization. You're telling me that Iran of all places, could actually destroy the USS Abraham Lincoln and take out American bases scattered across the Gulf?
You can skip this video, but you can't skip the truth. Right now, in North Gaza, children are going to bed hungry every night. The recent conflict has left countless families without food, shelter, and hope.
And I understand that reaction. I genuinely do, because we've been conditioned, all of us, through decades of media coverage, through Hollywood movies, through Pentagon press briefings, to see American military power as something almost divine, untouchable, invincible. But here's the thing, and this is where I want you to really pay attention. Invincibility is not a military doctrine, it is a marketing strategy. And marketing strategies, no matter how well executed, have a very ugly habit of colliding with reality at the worst possible moment. Now, I've spent years studying geopolitical conflict, military history, and the way great powers manage and mismanage their imperial overreach.
And one thing that becomes crystal clear when you look at history with honest eyes is that the side with the most expensive equipment doesn't always win. In fact, sometimes the most expensive equipment becomes the most expensive liability. And when we talk about the USS Abraham Lincoln, a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier with a price tag somewhere north of $4 billion, carrying billions more in aircraft and ordnance and personnel, sailing into a body of water, the Persian Gulf, that is essentially a bathtub surrounded by Iranian territory on three sides, well, you begin to understand that the mathematics here are not as straightforward as the Pentagon would like you to believe. Let me explain what I mean by that, because I think this is the part that most mainstream analysts simply refuse to engage with honestly. The Persian Gulf is not the open ocean. It is not the Pacific. It is a narrow, relatively shallow body of water, roughly 990 kilometers long, and at its widest point, no more than 340 kilometers across. That's it. And Iran has been preparing for exactly this kind of confrontation for decades, not years, decades. After watching what happened to Iraq in 1991 and again in 2003, after watching what happened to Libya, after watching what happened to Yugoslavia, Iran drew a very clear and very rational conclusion. If you fight the Americans the way Saddam Hussein fought the Americans, you will lose the way Saddam Hussein lost. So Iran made a different decision. They built what military strategists call an A2AD capability, anti-access, area denial. And the Persian Gulf is the single most ideal geographic environment on the planet for exactly this kind of warfare. What does that actually mean in practical terms? It means that Iran has spent the better part of 30 years quietly, patiently, systematically building up a layered missile arsenal specifically designed to overwhelm and destroy American naval assets in that confined space. They have the Shahab series of ballistic missiles. They have the Fateh 110 and its many derivatives, some with terminal guidance systems precise enough to hit a moving ship. They have the Noor anti-ship missile, which is an Iranian evolution of the Chinese C-802, a sea-skimming cruise missile that flies low and fast and is notoriously difficult to intercept in cluttered radar environments. They have hypersonic developments that have been announced and demonstrated. And they have something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough in Western media, which is a massive fleet of fast attack craft, hundreds of small, fast, heavily armed speedboats operated by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, specifically trained for swarming tactics in the exact geography of the Gulf. Now, here's what I want you to think about. The USS Abraham Lincoln's primary defense against missile attack is its Carrier Strike Group, a collection of destroyers and cruisers equipped with the Aegis combat system and standard missiles designed to intercept incoming threats. And in theory, against a single missile or even a small salvo, this system performs very well. It's impressive technology, genuinely. But here's the problem with theory. It meets practice. What Iran has been developing and what has been openly discussed in their military doctrine is saturation attack. Not one missile, not 5 missiles, but a coordinated simultaneous launch from multiple directions using different types of weapons, ballistic missiles coming from high altitude, cruise missiles coming in low and fast from another direction, drones flying in from yet another angle, and fast boats moving in from close range all at the same time. The Aegis system is excellent. But it has finite capacity. There are only so many missiles it can intercept simultaneously before the math stops working in your favor. And in the confined waters of the Persian Gulf, the distances are so short that the warning time for incoming threats can be measured in seconds rather than minutes. That changes everything about how defense works. I want to be honest with you here because I think intellectual honesty is the only thing worth offering in a world drowning in propaganda from every direction. I am not saying that Iran would walk away from such a confrontation unscathed. That would be absurd. The American response to any attack on one of its carrier strike groups would be devastating and immediate. Iran would take catastrophic damage. Their infrastructure, their military installations, their command and control, all of it would be targeted with a ferocity that is difficult to imagine. But, and this is the crucial point that no one in Washington seems willing to sit with, the question is not whether Iran survives Abraham Lincoln and the Gulf bases survive the initial Iranian strike. And those are two completely different questions. Because if an Iranian first strike successfully destroys or disables a carrier strike group and simultaneously lands devastating blows on American forward operating bases in Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, and Kuwait, then the entire strategic picture changes in ways that cannot simply be reversed by bombing Tehran. The political and psychological shock of such an event would be unlike anything the American empire has experienced since at least September 11th, and arguably far more strategically significant. Think about what it would mean for the global order. Think about what it would mean for every country that has been quietly wondering whether American military guarantees are actually worth the paper they're written on. Think about what it would mean for Taiwan, which has been told repeatedly that America will defend it. Think about what it would mean for the dollar, for American credibility, for NATO cohesion. The loss of a supercarrier is not just a military event. It is a civilizational signal. It is the moment when the story the empire tells about itself, the story of invincibility, of overwhelming force, of being the indispensable nation, shatters in full view of the entire world simultaneously. That is what makes this scenario so profoundly important to understand, not as entertainment, not as warmongering, but as a serious geopolitical analysis of where we are and where things could go. Now let's talk about the Gulf bases, because I think this gets even less attention than the carrier vulnerability, and it deserves much more. The United States has significant military infrastructure throughout the Persian Gulf region. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar is one of the most important American military installations in the entire world. It houses the forward headquarters of U.S. Central Command. It handles an enormous volume of air traffic for operations across the broader Middle East. Then there's Naval Support Activity Bahrain, the home of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. There's Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE. There's Camp Asselia in Qatar. There's Ali Al Salem in Kuwait. These are not small outposts. These are major, well-established installations housing thousands of American military personnel. And here is the thing that rarely gets said out loud in polite geopolitical company. They are fixed targets. They don't move. Iran has known about them for decades. Iranian intelligence has had unlimited time to study them, to map them, to calculate precisely what combination of weapons would be needed to destroy key infrastructure at each one. The runways, the fuel storage, the command facilities, the radar installations, all of it has been patiently catalogued and targeted in Iranian war planning. This isn't speculation. This is the rational behavior of any competent military that knows it may one day be in conflict with a far stronger adversary. You plan, you prepare, you do your homework. The missile systems that Iran would use against these bases are not primitive. The Zolfagar, the Dezful, the Khaybar Shekan, these are precision ballistic missiles with ranges that comfortably cover the entire Gulf region and accuracy measured in meters, not hundreds of meters. Iran has demonstrated these systems. They used variants of them when they struck the Ain al-Assad air base in Iraq in January 2020 in response to the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani. And what happened that night is instructive. Iran gave advance warning through diplomatic back channels, which allowed American personnel to take shelter, and yet the strike still managed to cause significant structural damage and resulted in documented traumatic brain injuries among American service members. That was a deliberately restrained, carefully calibrated strike. A full-scale Iranian strike in a genuine wartime scenario, aimed at destruction rather than demonstration, with no advance warning and maximum coordination, would look very different. And I think anyone who is being genuinely analytical rather than reflexively patriotic would acknowledge that. There is also the Houthi dimension, which we absolutely cannot ignore, because what happened in the Red Sea over the last couple of years has been extraordinarily revealing. Here you have the Houthis, a non-state armed group operating out of Yemen, one of the poorest countries on the face of the earth, and they managed to significantly disrupt global shipping through the Red Sea using cheap Iranian-designed drones and missiles. The American and British military response, with all its Tomahawk missiles and naval firepower, failed to stop them. Shipping companies rerouted around the Cape of Good Hope. Insurance premiums skyrocketed. Global trade patterns were disrupted. A ragtag armed group with a fraction of the military budget of any Western nation managed to force a strategic rerouting of a significant portion of global maritime commerce. Now take that lesson and apply it to Iran itself, a nation with vastly more sophisticated weapons, vastly more military capacity, vastly more strategic depth, and vastly more motivation. And you start to understand why some of the most sober and serious military analysts in the world are genuinely worried about what a real confrontation in the Gulf would look like. I want to say something here that I think is important and that I genuinely believe. I am not rooting for any of this to happen. I am not celebrating the idea of American sailors dying or of any human beings dying. War is catastrophic. It destroys people's lives in ways that last generations. The soldiers who get killed are not the architects of empire. They are mostly young people from working class backgrounds who joined the military for entirely understandable reasons and deserve far better than to be sacrificed for geopolitical strategies that serve the interests of people who will never be anywhere near the fighting, and the Iranian people, who have suffered enormously under both their own government and under decades of American sanctions and interference, deserve better too. This is not about cheering for one side or the other. It is about trying to see clearly what is actually happening and where it might lead, because the people who make decisions in Washington and in Tehran are often operating on the basis of assumptions and narratives that are dangerously disconnected from reality. And that, I think, is ultimately what this comes down to. The dangerous gap between the story and the reality. The American political and military establishment has told itself and the American public a particular story about power for so long that they have begun to believe it in ways that impair their judgment. They see those carrier strike groups and they feel invincible. They look at the sheer scale of the defense budget and they assume it translates directly into battlefield outcomes. But warfare is not a budget comparison. History is absolutely littered with examples of superior forces being humbled, sometimes shattered, by adversaries they underestimated. The British Empire at its height could not pacify Afghanistan. The French military could not hold Indochina. The American military, the most expensive fighting force ever assembled in human history, could not win in Vietnam, could not win in Afghanistan after 20 years, could not stabilize Iraq after the initial shock and awe wore off, not because American soldiers aren't brave or capable, but because military power has limits that no amount of spending can fully overcome, especially when you are operating in someone else's backyard, thousands of miles from home, in conditions that favor the defender. And the Persian Gulf, let me tell you, is as much Iran's backyard as anywhere on earth. They have been thinking about this for a very long time. They are patient, they are serious, and whatever else you may think of the because they have done the math very carefully. And the math, when you look at it honestly, without the comfort of the invincibility narrative, is considerably more complicated than Washington would like to admit. That is the reality we need to be able to look at without flinching. Because if we cannot look at it clearly, we cannot make wise decisions about how to avoid the catastrophe that none of us, on any side of this, should actually want.
All right, we're going into the X. And I'm here to tell you, if you ain't caught it by now, then I'm going to let you know. America is done. The hegemony is over. They took control of the world's economy by making the reserve currency, the dollar, to be that world currency after World War II and the Bretton Woods Convention or what have you. To make a long story short, it was a drop in the lap, a gift. They did not earn that motherfucker. But you know who is earning it now? Who got the gold back in its currency? The United States of Africa. BRICS. And the unit, the currency of BRICS, 40% gold. If you don't have any gold, you can't do any business. And here's my prediction. Mark my word. Based on what I've seen, based on what I've heard, based on what I know. America is going to go bankrupt. It will be destroyed economically. In the next 60 to 90 days, let's just say 90 days. So we're looking at, not counting this month, March, April, May, June, by July. This war is going to go on well beyond 3 months. And America can't afford it. Can't afford the motherfucker. $50 trillion went to Israel. That's what the fuck happened. That's why America is at $38 trillion in debt. We ain't did shit to run up that motherfucking kind of money, bitch. Are you fucking at your goddamn mind to really think that we done fucked up that kind of money? No, it went to these fucking fake ass Jews. But you know, that's okay. We're gonna get it back. We're gonna get it back. And I'm here to tell you that the old America that used to be in control If it is true, then the old corporate America been dead. Now the law of the sea is no more. The landlord is here. The Republic of America is here, and that's all that matters. All this money that's been printed and given out is dead money, like monopoly money. Now, from what I'm understanding, America doesn't have any gold. Or does it? I don't know. I can't tell you one way or the fucking other. But what I do know is that Africa, at the United States of Africa, and the global South, as these companies come online and join the AES and the global South as one unit, and have the shared currency of the African coin and that dollar that they're going to be using, not the dollar per se, but the currency of the United States of Africa and the unit. It might be both or one or the other. It's over. France doesn't have any gold. Europe doesn't have any gold. Italy doesn't have any gold. America doesn't have any gold. Canada doesn't have any gold. And Australia. It's over. It is fucking over. So look for the next 90 days, not counting this month. You can count it if you want it. But it'd be like the beginning of June or the beginning of July at the most. The total destruction of America economically is at hand. Now we're going to go on and we're going to get into this. Breaking Chinese professor goes off script and named the Illuminati and other secret Jewish and Zionist societies that run the world and pushing for the war in Iran. The truth is finally coming out. Let's get into it.
And the last factor that is very important is the eschatological factor, where if you look at the Epstein files, it's clear that we are run by secret societies. It's clear that the world is run by these individuals who have a lot of power. We don't know who they are, but they control the military. They control the national security apparatus. And these people, there are different names for these people. You can call them the Illuminati. And the Illuminati are composed of three major groups. Okay, you have the Jesuits, who control the Vatican. You have the Sephardim Frankists, which control the modern state of Israel today. You have the Freemasons, which control the national security apparatus of the United States. And they believe that Israel, this war in the Middle East, is key to the end times in creating heaven on earth. So it's almost like a script that they're following, even though it doesn't make any geopolitical sense. Okay, so I would say that these three are the best reasons why this is happening. Wow.
Now, I don't know if John F. Kennedy Jr. I don't know if John F. Kennedy Jr. is alive or dead or whatever the case might be. But from what I'm understanding, it's supposed to be this Nestor Gesser and with Trump and all this other bullshit. I don't know. But I'm more prone to believe not than to believe it is. So let's get out of here and move on to the next. Now this one, let me put it this way. Iran knows the U.S. cannot afford to lose the war in the Middle East and will keep reinforcing its positions with fuel and ammunition. So it's going to set the temperature on medium and keep the tempo like this, targeting all of its supplies in the Middle East, forcing it to resupply. The U.S. cannot manufacture the ammunition faster than it either uses them if they end up making it to the front line or until Iran destroys them. No ammunition means all of the U.S.'s power goes to zero, not just in the middle, but as a consequence of this open wound worldwide. The Iranians aren't just coming after the U.S. presence in the Middle East, it's coming after the entire U.S. empire, and its plan is working. The U.S. will die this year Not next year, not 10 years from now, not 20. This year, if this war doesn't end soon, it's not going to end. Because countries like China and Russia will calculate a very high probability of victory should they go to war with Iran. Not against Iran, with Iran. So the only way out is a nuclear attack on Iran. But Iran already has plans for that as well. No one has ever come after the U.S.'s logistics. It's just considered too great of a target. It's the U.S.'s biggest strength. But if you can destroy it or disable it, it turns into the U.S.'s biggest weakness. The Iranians are geniuses. I got that one already. So hold on. I got that one plugged in. Here we go. It says March the 1st, 2026. The world order is shifting, and this is your only warning. Let's get it.
Issued a very strongly worded statement. While he didn't mention the United States directly in his statement, let's read between the lines and see if we can figure out who he's talking about. Xi Jinping said that any attack on Iran would be considered as an attack on Chinese interests. As context, China has signed a 50-year-long security and economic agreement with Iran. Iran is China's major oil provider, and Iran's independence is considered a national security issue for China. Xi Jinping stated, "China will not stand by while our partners are threatened with destruction. The era when certain powers could bomb and invade at will is over. The balance of power has shifted. Those who do not recognize this shift do so at their peril. China seeks peace, but will not purchase peace through submission. If war is forced upon us, we will fight, and we will win. Let this be a message to those who would threaten our friends. An attack on Iran is an attack on the international order that China will defend. Consider your actions carefully. The consequences of miscalculation will be beyond imagining." That was the statement from the president of China. Who do you think he's talking about? Let's just hope Taco's out again. Go love your neighbor.
Now, this is the U.S. as Abraham Lincoln. It's done. Before I do that, I'm going to go over here and look at the Middle East and Bahrain. Hold on. Bahrain. Let me bring up the Bahrain. Okay, so here we go. Now, as you can see, this is the Strait of Hormuz going into the Gulf of Persia and other areas. The UAE, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, Iran, here, Kuwait. Here, you can see Bahrain. We already know they knocked out the eye, ear, nose, tongue, mouth of the United States. They did that. There is no refueling. There is no reestablishment of ammunition. It is done. This 21-mile stretch of water between the UAE and Iran, the coast of Iran, they ain't letting shit pass. They're only letting China go past, and they only letting Russia go past. These ships of the United States are in these shallow waters, not too shallow, but shallow waters, and they're open duck targets. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, is what it is. And let me get out of here and go back. And so as we move forward into, into this, we're going to be facing a lot of destruction and a lot of death. It's going to be, in my estimation, when all this shit is said and done, upwards of 25,000 American lives and untold over 100,000 of these so-called bitch-ass fake Jews lives in Israel. They're not going to let these motherfuckers go. They're not going to let them go, man. Over 100,000 of these motherfuckers. I pray to God it'd be worse than Gaza. Over 1 million of these motherfuckers, wherever they are at in the world, kill them. They're going to do that. These are not my words. They're going to do that shit. Because the world is sick and tired of these motherfuckers. I'll be right back. Unfucking real, you guys. From that Bahrain territory, and for them to refuel or restock or stock up the ammo and all of that, it takes 3 days to get to India and 3 days to get back. Bitch, you done. A week? And this is the best that you did, Trump? And the white boy? You didn't think this shit out, did you? America is out of bullets, out of ammo, out of everything. And here we are. Hold on. Oh shit. What the fuck? Hold on. Oh damn it. I done fucked this shit up. Hold on. Let me see. Damn it from the... Okay. Damn it. Hold on. I know damn well. I'm sorry. I done screwed that up. Hold on. Let me see. Oh boy. Hold on, let me take my time and go back up here and see. Here we go. So, in the Epstein file, the youngest cannibalized victim was a baby, still attached to the umbilical cord. On the Epstein list, they said that the intestines of this baby, a few hours old, tasted like cream cheese. The non-human sickle freak. Oh boy. Now, here is Minister Farrakhan, and I will let him speak.
Repented. You have not. Here we are. You have not repented. You have not done justice by us. You are still deceiving the black people of America and the world. And it is written that you've been let loose now. You've come down, been thrown out of heaven. It actually is a prophecy that you're going to be displaced throughout the earth. Oh my. You'll be put out of Asia. You have your fleets there. You have your tremendous arms there, but they won't keep you in Asia. And when you lose Asia, and when you lose the Middle East, you will be put out of that area of the world. I'm sorry to tell you. You think that you will survive. I warned you a long time ago. Israel, you have not had any peace. And that was nearly from 1984. I said, for 40 years, you have not had any peace, nor will you have any peace. Now, 20-some years later, you're still talking about a peace plan. But there will be no peace, because the peace that you want is peace on your terms, Israel, and that is not going to happen. So all kinds of mischief and trouble is being made in that area of the world. Remember that scripture, the devil has come down unto you having great wrath, because he knows he has but a short time. His wrath, his mischief making, his blood shedding, his meddling in the affairs of other nations is now being seen in the Middle East. There will be no peace with Israel and the Palestinians. And Israel, are you beginning to see you're losing all over the world? As I wrote when we put out the second edition of the book, The Secret Relations Between Blacks and Jews, I warned all of you that there is a way that you could sit down with the Nation of Islam and work out a way forward. What was does not have to be what is. But if you persist in fighting me as the representative of that great Messiah, then you are only hastening the day of your doom. So Israel, you are saying already, if you go down, you're going to take the whole world down with you. We've heard those sayings before. America has power with her atomic weapons to kill the people of the earth several times over. But you will never get a chance to do it. We know these things, although many will die. And the scriptures teach us, if those days of judgment were not shortened for his elect's sake, no soul would be left alive on the earth.
Yes, sir, Mr. Minister Farrakhan. Woo. Now, this is the one. My boy Micah Israel. Don't wait. 1 Samuel 15:3. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. Slay all of them. Breaking. Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Any Israeli who wants to stay alive must leave Israel immediately. We are heading toward an exhausting war, and its end will be extremely dangerous.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. موج 11 عملیات وعده صادق 4 در یک اقدام ترکیبی پردامنه و پرتراکم گروه‌های
Oh,
عملیاتی
that's
در
in Arabic. I'm sorry.
فضای
So we
سپاه
already know what
پاسداران
that's
علیه احزاب
about.
نظامی آمریکا
So now, if you guys got any questions, please let me know, man. Just write something. Say, ah, damn, everybody here. Well, not everybody, but you know, write a question, something. So now we are here. Are Chinese troops already in Iran testing hypersonic weapons? They are. A high-ranking Russian general with direct Kremlin ties just dropped a massive intel bombshell. Chinese military personnel are already on the ground in Iran testing their latest weapon systems. The U.S. and Israel did not see this coming. The General Popov bombshell. Retired Russian Major General Vladimir Popov is highly decorated and deeply connected. He just stated in an interview that Chinese troops are already in Iran, not as advisors, as active weapons testers. Their mission is to test hypersonic missiles and bombs on Iranian proving ground, the second wave strategy. The Iranians have not yet deployed their most powerful weapon. They are holding back a second wave for when U.S. logistics are exhausted. Popov states Iran is saving everything for the moment the situation becomes truly catastrophic for the U.S., Europe, and Israel. My emphasis. China is resupplying them for exactly that moment. China's real motivation. Iran is now a live fire test range for the Chinese military-industrial complex. China need to evaluate which technology works and which fell under real combat situations or conditions. The Ukraine war is Russia's test ground. Iran is now China's test ground. Popov said Chinese defense industry representatives are likely already active inside Iran. The U.S. is running out of munitions. The U.S. cannot operate from its own mainland. Logistics are stretched to the breaking point. Popov states that the U.S. prepared 3 or 4 reserve positions for the first days of the war. Those are now exhausted. They are relocating launch sites under fire. Trump's claim of unlimited reserve is pure fiction, according to Russian military analysis. Statement from the new supreme leader, who is the son of Khamenei, of the Islamic Revolution of Iran, Ali Reza al-Rafi. The time for negotiation is over. There's no more negotiation. The United States has chosen to cross the red line, the line of irreparable harm. By launching this war, they have signed their own death warrant. They don't know when or how the axe will fall, but we hold the reins. They brandish the nuclear specter like a scarecrow, blinded by their arrogance. They have no idea of the true extent of our power or what we are prepared to unleash. As for Israel, its fate is sealed. Every strike, every crime, every act of suffering they have inflicted will come back to haunt them. They will remain in our sights, exposed, vulnerable, hunted. We walk in the shadow of the leader, and every step is a lightning bolt. Iran does not bend. Iran wins, always. Michael Ben Israel, my boy, trafficking peddle, white, polluting the earth, white, poisoning food, white, extension of animals, white. Job, or Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and it's going to be given back to the righteous. Let's hear it again.
Because it was the white man, when they arrived here in the Americas, that slaughtered over 13 million natives. It was the white man that raped their women and daughters. It was the white man that destroyed their culture. It was the white man that took their language. It was the white man that devastated the beauty of what was here prior. And standing on the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, when the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible, and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes, and when we opened them, we had the Bible, and the white man had the land. See, it was the white man that went over to Africa and slaughtered millions, enslaved millions, destroyed their culture, their language, and the beauty that was there prior to us. Because, see, I recall it was the white man who enslaved our black brothers and sisters once they took them from Africa here to the Americas. And for over 400 years, it's been the white man that has continued to enslave our black brothers and sisters. In fact, when they were prospering like Black Wall Street, it was the invasion of the white man that destroyed that city. It was the invasion of the white man onto the island of Puerto Rico that devastated the people that lived there. It was the white man that stepped foot into the islands and the nations of Haiti that once again devastated and left it to die. Because the reality is this: everywhere the white man has invaded, everywhere the white man has placed his foot, he has left it destroyed.
Any motherfucking question, motherfuckers? We are not in the last day. We are in the last motherfucking second pitch. We are walking into the great deception. The Epstein file will release at the right time for a reason. I get it. 7 minutes long, 8 minutes long.
Because we are watching in real time the world walk willingly into the final deception, the great deception, the final rebellion of the Antichrist, and he hasn't even arrived yet. The foundation is being laid as we speak. It is already being set up. We are watching the world correlate the God of the Old Testament with the atrocious acts that are done in this world, in the Epstein files, the satanic rituals, the eating of children, the adrenalized blood. They are correlating that with Yahweh. They are painting him as a bloodthirsty tyrant. They are painting him as the enemy. And this will lead the world into war against the Lord Jesus Christ, because they have painted Yahweh as the enemy. See, what they're doing is they're separating the Lord Jesus Christ from Yahweh, who are one and the same. They are separating them, and they are saying that Jesus was an ascended master. He was not God in the flesh. He was an ascended master, and that's why he was crucified. He was a threat to the system. He was crucified because he tried to help humanity ascend and achieve godhood. There are New Agers everywhere, all over this app, all over social media, that are talking about following Jesus. They are talking about, yes, we need to listen to his teachings because he told us that we can be like him. Jesus is not God in the flesh. He did not die for the sins of humanity. He did not shed his blood for the atonement of our sins. No. He died because he was a threat to the system, because he tried to help humanity ascend, and we need to listen to his teachings because we can all be like him. Satan is clever. He's not going to come out and deny that Jesus was crucified. He's not going to come out and deny that Jesus walked this earth. He is presenting to you the truth that Jesus was crucified, but he's going to weaponize it, he's going to twist it, and he is going to remove the one thing that saves you, his blood. What the enemy is doing in this last second is he is taking the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ that was shed in our place to pay for our sins,
and he is correlating it with the evil, atrocious, unspeakable acts that are done in worship to him. The world is literally walking right into this deception while they quote scripture, while they tell each other that they need to follow the teachings of Jesus. They are walking right into the hands of the Antichrist and right into the mark of the beast. Satan knows scripture better than any of us combined, and because of that, he knows how to twist it. And the Antichrist, the son of perdition, the man of sin, will step out onto the stage very soon, and he will quote scripture. He will talk about Jesus. He will say that we need to follow the teachings of Jesus because Jesus was an ascended master who was just trying to help us ascend. I also believe it's possible that when the rapture of the church happens and all the children are removed from this world, the enemy will tell the world that Yahweh took us, that Yahweh took all the children. And instead of getting on their knees and repenting, asking for forgiveness, knowing they need to get saved, they will be angry with Yahweh for taking all the children. See, when Christians get persecuted, when they get hunted down, when they get beheaded in the tribulation, the world will cheer. Because Christians are the enemy. Christians are the ones that are doing all of these atrocious, bloodthirsty, satanic rituals. Christians are the ones that are consuming children because we serve a bloodthirsty tyrant God. The two witnesses are killed in the tribulation. Their bodies are left to rot for 3.5 days. And the world cheers. The world sends each other gifts. They celebrate. Because anyone who serves Yahweh, anyone who serves the one true God of the Bible is an evil person. They are the enemy. Brothers and sisters in Christ, we are in the last second. And because we are in the last second, we need to be on repeat about two things. First and foremost is the true gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, that we are saved by grace through faith. It is not of our works, lest anyone should boast. We bring nothing to the table. When he died, he said, "It is finished." Our salvation comes through faith in his blood that he shed in our place and his blood alone. It is nothing that we do. If you put your faith in the finished work that was done on the cross, but you also believe that your salvation is dependent upon your cooperation, you are maintaining that salvation, then you are not fully putting your trust in the blood. You are putting part of your faith in yourself, and that is not the true gospel. You are putting your faith in a false gospel. The free gift of salvation that the Lord Jesus Christ offers through the blood that he shed is a free gift. Salvation is a free gift. It is not earned, and we cannot lose it. Y'all, when we put our whole faith 100% in the blood that he shed, we become a new creation. Our salvation isn't a yo-yo walk with God. It isn't okay, now I need to maintain it. We couldn't maintain it in the first place. That's the point. If you believe that your salvation is dependent upon your works, your cooperation, if you believe that we can lose it, that's not the free gift of salvation that Jesus offers. That is grace earned. That is a false gospel. The second most important thing is the deception that is coming, the deception that is already being set up. People are already walking blindly into it while they quote scripture, saying that they can be like Jesus, they can achieve godhood. They're painting Yahweh as the enemy. We need to boldly and loudly and continually speak against it, so God can, through our words, plant seeds, so that when this deception really takes shape, when it comes to fruition, people can maybe have a voice in the back of their head that's saying, hold on, didn't they tell me about this? Didn't they warn me about this? And hopefully in that moment they will see the truth, they will get on their knees, and they will repent. Noah preached for 120 years. He was on repeat for 120 years. And for 120 years, the world laughed at him. They mocked him, they ridiculed him until the rain came. This world is about to drastically change, and these two things could not be more important. The true gospel of salvation, that we are saved by grace through faith, and the coming deception that is already taking shape. Satan is cunning, he is clever, and he is crafty, and he knows scripture better than any of us, and because of that, he knows how to twist it. The Epstein files were released at this specific point in time for a reason, and the upcoming alien files are going to be released at the perfect time. We are truly in the last second. This world is about to drastically change, and nothing else matters but Christ. Nothing else matters than putting your whole faith, 100% of your faith, in the blood that he shed, the finished work that was done on the cross in your place. Stay watchful, church, because soon and very soon we are going to hear the trumpet call of God. Church.
Well, I don't believe all of that bullshit, but we'll see. Time proves all things, doesn't it? Now, this one gonna take white people coming out and admitting that they are the wicked and that we are the true chosen people of God.
All blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the Israelites of the Bible, according to the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And the simple fact of the matter is that my people have lied to you and the whole world about the Bible and have sought to paint their images over your images and to replace you in the Bible, which is your history, heritage, and culture.
And so with that basis of that understanding, I am telling to you, my white brothers and sisters, that we have been duped all these years. They are the chosen of God. They are the chosen of Yah. And God, even the God that we say we call upon in Christianity, is coming back to redeem his people. And it makes it very clear that the nation that held his people in slavery are going to fall.
Called blacks.
So let me read it. White people are coming out and admitting that they are the wicked and that we are the true chosen people of God. The earth, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who he is. Who is he? Psalm 58:3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies.
This is a book called The History of God, and it talks about the three religions. The religion has nothing to do with the Lord. He gave us laws, statutes, and commandments. But what stuck out in this book that one part that is really interesting is what she said about the children of Israel. And I was going this part. That's The History of God by Karen Armstrong. The Bible makes it clear that the people we know as ancient Israelites were a confederation of various ethnic groups bound together principally by their loyalty to God. I'll say 12 different ethnic groups. See, let me know 12 tribes or 12 different ethnic groups, they're one nation. And if you look on the side here, people are considered 12 different ethnic groups. This book here says what? Indians. Indians are the tribe of Gad by William Loren Katz. It says antique French engraving shows African, but it's not African because they were black Jews from the tribe of Judah. Africans and Native American people living in harmony and happiness in their own village because you had the tribe of Judah over here. And when Gad came, they both lived together. They knew they were Israelites, they're brothers. See, the Edomites know the truth. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are brothers.
Oh, hold on. Whew. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we come closer to the end game here on the X file, I guess, we're gonna have to realize what is going on. From what I'm understanding, we're supposed to have 10 days of darkness. I would highly suggest that you stock up on your food, battery, light, thing that, how you said, not the light bulb, you know what I'm talking about. And be prepared, because when you are prepared, the word doesn't hurt you as bad. It's going to be one, you guys. Just be prepared. So we got this lady here. She said, "Go on, keep hitting them. Iran, if you don't have enough funds for the missiles, I'll contribute a little from my side. I'm ready to give whatever I have to help. Flatten a motherfucking asset like they flattened Palestine."
That's it, you know, if you haven't got enough money for the missiles, I'm willing to chip in a bit. I've got a few quid going spare. I don't mind helping you. Come on, get the job done. Keep at it. Keep at it. Flatten it. You know what I'm talking about. Flatten it. Like Gaza was flattened. You get that job done. You get it done, kiddo. Sort the buggers out. Teach them a bloody lesson. Yeah, I'm with you, Iran. You sort them out. Come on, Iran, get the job.
Now, this one, I'm just blown away. You see how they go into this bullshit? Literally can't make this shit up. Trump anointed by Jesus. This is what this bitch ass fucking alcoholic is saying. U.S. troops were told the Iran war is part of God's plan, and Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his earthly return. Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that a bitch? This motherfucking alcoholic Pete Hegseth is a bitch ass motherfucker. Now, here, I want to make sure that I stop this. Just look at that old white pedophilic asshole nearing the grave and still chasing girls 40 years his junior. He's older than her own father. My heart breaks watching him kiss her right in front of her dad, whose face was filled with sadness and heartbreak. These white predators exploit vulnerable Asian girls, especially Filipino, Thailand, and sibling countries. Whites are the case study of pedophilia. The world knows. Look at his face.
They approved. They said I can have you. I can have you forever. I can have you forever.
The world done had enough of this motherfucker. All U.S. bases have been destroyed. Our harbor installations are destroyed. We're having to fall back on India and Indian ports. India, for real? That's 3 days away, motherfucker. And 3 days back. By the time it's over.
What about China's ability to impact outcomes in the Straits of Hormuz with what is now the government of Iran, and then 50% of their oil on the other side waiting to get through?
Well, China and Russia are sitting on the sidelines monitoring everything. They're in close touch with the government.
They're providing satellite intelligence, which accounts for some of the tremendous successes, particularly in Israel and our U.S. bases. All of our bases have been destroyed. Our harbor installations are destroyed. We're actually having to fall back on India and Indian ports, which are less than ideal. That's what the Navy says. And I think Iran, much to our disappointment, is faring very, very well. The question is, how long can we keep this up? I think logistics is the vulnerable part of this entire operation. Remember, you got to go back and reload. You've got to fly things in. You've got to sail in. Iran is a continental power, 93 million people, the size of Western Europe. Both China and Russia are continental powers. They don't have supply chain problems. Their manufacturing capabilities are intact. Right now, the missile cities that underlie all of Iran's provinces are untouched, and they have an inexhaustible supply of missiles. I think this is going to go on for some time, and the question is, when does Israel step up and say they've had enough? We went through that before during the 12-Day War. When do they say this is too much? When do they say if this doesn't stop, we use a nuclear weapon? That's what I would be concerned about, and that's where President Trump, who really doesn't appear to be in charge, Mr. Netanyahu does, has got to be prepared to step in and say, no, there will be no use of nuclear weapons. That's what I worry about.
Oh, boy. We do not take organs from Israeli soldiers. Then where do you take the organ from? We take them from Palestinians or from migrant workers. You motherfucker.
לא נוגעים, משאירים שלם את החייל, מאוד חשוב, אבל לוקחים מאחרים. אז עכשיו השאלה מי, ותדמיינו ממי לוקחים. בתקופות מסוימות לקחו מפלסטינאים, ואחר כך זה היה עולים חדשים, עובדים זרים, לא נוגעים.
And we're down to the last three after this one. This is not a drill. Iran has officially declared jihad against the United States and Israel. A formal religious decree has been issued citing Quran 22:39, granting divine permission to wage war against crusader aggression. What this means, this is not a political rhetoric. This is not a religious war declaration. Every Shia militia across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen now has theological authorization to attack the U.S. and Israeli targets. Hezbollah, Houthi, Iraqi, PMF, all activated under one fatwa. The document calls on the entire Islamic world to mobilize. This changes everything. A political war can be negotiated. A holy war cannot. We just entered the most dangerous phase of the conflict. If you're not paying attention, start now. Save this, share this, and this is the moment it escalated beyond return. Fucking white ass, whore ass bitches stuck in Dubai, man. Fuck them bitches. Pussy ass bitches. Now look, God chosen people. Wait. These are God chosen people? Faggoty ass faggot.
When you're a power gay in a bomb shelter with sexy Tel Aviv power gays, what do you think, guys? You could be anywhere in the world. I think I kind of want to be here. All these hunky Israeli forums. Scared for our lives. Who knows what we might get up to here in this bomb shelter? When you're a power gay in a bomb.
And next to the last one. In a bombshell interview, Professor Gian predicts the United States will lose the war against Iran and explains exactly how. After everything that's going on and watching Iran's methods of retaliation, this all makes sense.
All right, guys, we've got yet another heavy hitter guest and first-time guest on the show. Professor Zhang, he is the star of the popular YouTube channel Predictive History. He uses game theory to analyze past, current, and to predict future geopolitical events. And he joins us now. Professor, great to have you.
Good to see you, sir. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. So, for people who aren't familiar with your work, I wanted to show folks that back in 2024, you made 3 big predictions. 1, that Trump would win. 2, that he would start a war with Iran. And 3, that the U.S. would lose that war. Let's take a listen to that.
In this class, this semester, I'm making 3 big predictions, right? First is that Trump will win in November. Second is that the United States will go to war against Iran. And the third big prediction is that the United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
So obviously that last one is the only one that has not yet come to fruition. Is quite a stunning prediction. Do you stand by it, and what have you seen so far that leads you to sort of stand firm in that conclusion?
So, given my analysis of how the war is progressing, I think that Iran has many more advantages over the United States. The reality is that right now, it's a war of attrition between the United States and Iran, and the Iranians have been preparing 20 years for this conflict. In their eschatology, in their religion, this is a war against the great Satan. They've had many practice runs. Last June was a 12-day war when the Iranians were able to examine and analyze the strike capacities of both the Israelis and the Americans. And they've had a lot of time, 8 months, to prepare fully for this new attack. They, through their proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Shia militias, have been able to really grasp the American mentality, and now they have a pretty good strategy of how to weaken and ultimately destroy the American empire. So what the Iranians are doing is they're waging war against the entire global economy. And so they are striking the GCC countries. And not only are they striking GCC countries, American bases, they're going after the critical energy infrastructure of these bases. They block up the Strait of Hormuz. And eventually, they will go after the water desalination plants, which is the lifeblood of these nations, because they don't have a fresh water supply. In fact, the water desalination plants provide 60% of the GCC's water supply. So if a drone, and these drones cost $50,000, if they wiped out a desalination plant in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and it's a city of 10 million people, right? They'd be out of water in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. And right now, the Iranians have de facto closed off the Strait of Hormuz, and the GCC gets 90% of its food from the Strait of Hormuz. So I know a lot of people are talking about the disruptions to the global economy, but right now, the Iranians are actually threatening the very existence of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar. And what this is important is that the Gulf states are really the linchpin of the American economy. So what they do is they sell petrodollars, and then they recycle the petrodollars back into the American economy through the investments in the stock market. And right now, we know that the entire American economy is propped up by AI investments in data centers. And a lot of that comes from the Gulf states. So if the Gulf states are no longer able to sell oil, and they're no longer able to finance AI, this AI bubble in the United States, then this AI bubble will burst, and with it will versus the entire American economy, which is really a financial Ponzi scheme.
Right.
So that's a dire situation that the Americans are facing right now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, sir, an Amazon data center was literally hit in the UAE. And now, of course, big tech companies, which were looking at the UAE as a major potential data center investment hub with cheap and abundant energy, probably going to be rethinking that. We also wanted to talk to you about munitions. Can put this next one up here on the screen. The United States is racing to accomplish Iran mission before munitions run out. This is specifically around interceptor math. There's a famous video just from yesterday in Israel, which shows a single Iranian ballistic missile, which is being targeted by some 11 different interceptors, all of which miss. Most of those come from the United States, not to mention all of the different bases, the GCC countries that you just talked about, and the asymmetry of the cost. It's $1 million per missile, tens of millions per interceptor in some of these cases. With these munitions running out, how does that change the global picture? So here in China, obviously, much of the stocks in Asia from the United States are likely to have to be cannibalized if this were to go on. How is that going to affect the global picture here?
Right. So my first point is that the United States military is not designed to fight a 21st century war. Remember, the military-industrial complex came to being after World War II. It was designed to fight the Cold War. And the Cold War was really about muscle flexing, about who was able to send people up into space, who was the first to get the person on the moon, who had the more complex missile systems. And so the entire American military strategy revolves around very sophisticated technology that costs a lot of money to build, and that's what the American air defense system is basically, and that's why we're seeing this asymmetry, as you point out, in this war, where you have these $1 million missiles trying to take out these $50,000 drones, and it's not sustainable in the long term. And so what we're seeing is really the puncturing of the aura of invincibility and inevitability that sustained American hegemony for the past 20 years, especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And this is really a reordering of not just the global economy, because this signals the collapse of the petrodollar, and with it, the entire U.S. dollar-based reserve currency system, but also the global hegemony of the United States. We're moving towards a multipolar world.
Professor, this morning, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was asked a question about potential ground troops in Iran. He refused to rule out that possibility, and he said, we're not going to project to you what we will or will not do, but we don't want to, rule anything out. We will do what it takes. Do you think that America will end up invading Iran from the ground, since it's already becoming relatively clear they won't be able to accomplish the goal of regime change or even regime collapse using just air power alone?
Right. So everyone says that the worst calamity that could happen in the United States is if it were to send ground troops into Iran. At the same time, the United States are committed to regime change in Iraq. We've never had a precedent in history where you were able to regime change from the air alone. You need ground troops. And so unfortunately, what's going to happen over the next few months is that pressure will build on America to send ground troops, especially from the GCC countries and from Israel, which are being pounded right now by the Iranians. So remember that if the GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Iran, if they go, then the petrodollar goes with them. So the Americans need to protect these countries, and these countries are going to demand that either the Americans bribe the Iranians to cease, and this is like $5 trillion in indemnity, okay? Or send ground troops to wipe out the Iranian threat once and for all. And I know that there's no political will for ground troops to be used against Iran among the American people. Remember that 78% of American people was against initial strikes against Iran in the first place.
Right. And one of the things that really comes into question, I think, with all of this, sir, when we're looking at the geopolitical picture, the sacrificing in much of this from the United States on behalf of Israel, is kind of a question as to who and what wanted this. We were actually curious for your view on a disputed report here from the Washington Post. We can put it up here on the screen, F3. A push from the Saudis. Israel helped move Trump to attack Iran. Now, this has been internally disputed by Saudi Arabia, saying that they did not push the Trump administration to attack Iran. However, this is clearly an authorized leak from our own government, trying to at least lay some of the blame on behalf of the GCC. What do you make of this analysis and of this narrative that Saudi Arabia was also trying to be behind this push to bomb Iran?
So I've always argued that both Saudi Arabia and Israel are heavily invested in regime change in Iran. In fact, Saudi Arabia sees Iran as much more of an existential crisis than Israel. Because remember, Israel still has nuclear weapons, and Israel is a very diverse, very sophisticated economy, whereas Saudi Arabia is completely reliant on oil. And it's always had problems with Iran because Iran is a theocracy opposed to the Saudi monarchy. Iran funds and equips the Houthis, which have been antagonistic towards Saudi Arabia for the longest time. And right now, the Saudi economy is suffering. It's been trying to pivot towards more of a tourist economy. That's why they brought in Ronaldo. That's why they're switching to e-gaming. That's why they're building something called a line, NEOM. And all these things are not working out. So they need to be able to control the oil resources of the entire Middle East if they are to survive and thrive as a nation. So I do believe that this reporting is credible, even though it does make Saudi Arabia look bad. But remember, Saudi Arabia says that they wanted peace, but they are helping the Israelis and the Americans attack Iran right now because they're allowing the Israelis and Americans to use Saudi airspace.
So help us understand, because it still feels to me like there are some pieces that don't totally add up. You had, in advance of this war on Iran, you had top military brass, up to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, saying, this is a really bad idea. We are not ready for this. All the math on the interceptors that's been talked about for months at this point, and yet Trump still decided to go ahead. What is the calculus that he was making here that led him to take what already appears to be catastrophic actions?
Right, okay. So this is the key question. Why do they do this? I think there are three possibilities, okay? And I think all three possibilities are valid. The first is that of hubris. You look at history, this is how empires behave. So the Maduro kidnapping was quick, successful, and it was adrenaline rush for Trump. And that made him overconfident in the capacity of the American military. Okay, so hubris is a factor. We see this throughout history. Why did Hitler invade Stalin? Because he conquered Europe really easily. He thought he was invincible, right? And that led to the destruction of the German army in the Soviet Union. So hubris is a factor. Then you have to look at internal political calculus, where even though America does not benefit from this war against Iran, Trump himself personally benefits. Why? Because the Saudis and Israelis are bribing him to attack Iran. Remember that the Saudis invested $2 billion in the private equity fund of Jared Kushner, who is the son-in-law of Donald Trump. And the Israelis, through Miriam Adelson, have been financing Trump's political career. Right? So Miriam Adelson, a few months back, said that she will put up $250 million if Trump were to run a third term. So Trump is getting a lot of financial and political support from the Saudis and Israelis. Also remember that if this war goes sideways and Trump is forced to use ground troops, he will probably get approval from Congress, and this will give him emergency war powers, which will allow him to influence the midterms. So Trump is thinking about a third term. And I think at the ballot box, he probably won't get it. But if there's a war going on and you can delay elections and you have emergency war powers and people rally around the flag, then he probably will get a third term. And the last factor that is very important is the eschatological factor, where if you look at the Epstein files, it's clear that we are run by secret societies. It's clear that the world is run by these individuals who have a lot of power. We don't know who they are, but they control the military. They control the national security apparatus. And these people, there are different names for these people. You can call them Illuminati. And the Illuminati are composed of three major groups. Okay, you have the Jesuits, who control the Vatican. You have the Sephardim Frankists, which control the modern state of Israel today. You have the Freemasons, which control the national security apparatus of the United States. And they believe that Israel, this war in the Middle East, is key to the end times in creating heaven on earth. So it's almost like a script that they're following, even though it doesn't make any geopolitical sense. Okay, so I would say that these three are the best reasons why this is happening.
Wow. Well, sir, I hope you come back. This was very informative, I think, for both of us. We deeply appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show. Help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.
Now, this is really sickening, and I hate this bitch. Leaked Epstein footage exposes Whoopi Goldberg eating a child's human brain from the skull. Leaked Epstein footage exposes Whoopi Goldberg eating human brain from child's skull. This bitch.
To get to the bottom of this, and I want to get to the bottom of this because this is my ass, it's not y'all ass. Okay? I called you last night. You said you did not speak to Peter. Peter said he called and spoke to you.
I talked to Peter.
So Guy talked to Peter, Peter talked to Guy, no one talked to Danny, no one decided to call Anna. Basically, that's what it is. No, you called me after the fact. You didn't call me when the fucking boat crashed. No one called me. Let's get that straight. Listen, I got the message from you midnight. Did it happen at midnight? No. Did anybody think to call me and say they're gonna use the boat to come get some dead fucking there? No. No, right?
You're right.
And now we're dealing with this shit. Look at the boat. Look at the man's boat. This is bullshit.
Oh, it's fine.
You the head electrician. You like one of the head landscapers. I finally got you again as a boat captain, and this is the bullshit I'm dealing with. This is bullshit. Oh, y'all know better than this shit. This man is limping right now.
Whew. Boy, oh boy. It's all gonna come out. 10 countries, and this is the last one before we close it down. 10 countries where white Americans are not welcome, and 26 or no any other time. 22 minutes. I'll be right back. I really want to put this on in the chat, but I'll play it. No problem.
Let us be honest. Americans are not exactly winning any global popularity contest lately. Between meddling in everyone else's business and acting like every foreign country is just a smaller, more confusing branch of Disney World, the reputation is, well, it is spicy. We have all seen it. The tourist who thinks a blue passport is basically a get-out-of-jail-free card from a game of Monopoly. For a long time, especially for white Americans, the world felt like one giant. Oh, it's all-inclusive resort where your privilege was the ultimate VIP pass. You might have gotten some heavy side-eye from the locals when you demanded ranch dressing in the middle of a desert, but you were usually safe in your little bubble. Well, buckle up, because that protective bubble is not just leaking. It is officially exploding. There are places on this map where that I want to speak to the manager energy will not get you a discount. It will get you a front row seat in a cold-blooded concrete cell. In these specific nations, being a white American does not make you a guest of honor. It makes you a walking, talking bullseye for the government and the locals alike. Today, we are looking at the top 10 countries where are not welcome in 2026. Let us dive into the chaos and see where your passport holds zero power. Number 10, Saudi Arabia. We are starting this list at number 10 with Saudi Arabia, a place where money simply cannot buy you a free pass. A lot of white Americans travel abroad with the deeply ingrained assumption that their wealth and their status will bend the local rules. They believe that if they just pay enough or complain loudly enough to a manager, any cultural barrier will just magically disappear. Saudi Arabia is currently going through massive changes and trying to boost tourism, but their tolerance for Western entitlement is absolutely zero. You cannot just show up in shorts or Daisy Dukes and expect the religious police to look the other way because you are a tourist. Modesty is deeply woven into the fabric of their entire society, and your personal comfort does not override their ancient traditions. There is a very common habit among white Americans to point fingers at things or people when they are asking questions or giving directions. In Saudi Arabia, using your finger to point is considered incredibly rude and offensive. And you are expected to use your chin instead. Another major issue is the obsession with personal freedom and the constant need to document everything on a smartphone. In the United States, people feel perfectly entitled to film anyone in public without asking for permission, claiming it is their right. If you try taking photos of random locals, women, or government buildings in Saudi Arabia without explicit permission, you will end up in serious trouble. Your blue passport will not stop the authorities from confiscating your phone or detaining you for violating their privacy laws. Public displays of affection are another massive red flag that many Westerners casually ignore when they are on vacation. Kissing or heavily embracing your partner in the middle of a street is a quick way to completely ruin your trip. You also need to remember to remove your shoes when entering homes, and avoid using your left hand for daily tasks. Respecting elders is not just a nice suggestion here, it is an absolute demand that carries heavy social weight. Many Americans have ignored these basic customs over the years, assuming the rules simply do not apply to them. This exact behavior is exactly what built the ugly American stereotype that makes locals so completely exhausted by our presence. When you step off the plane in Riyadh, you are playing by their rules, and your privilege is completely checked at the border. Number 9. Russia. Moving on to number 9, we have Russia, a country where your American citizenship is actually your biggest liability. For decades, white Americans have traveled the globe, assuming that foreign governments will leave them alone because of the power of the United States. But the relationship between these two nations has completely shattered, and we are currently living through a second Cold War. The Russian government does not look at a white American tourist and see a harmless visitor bringing money into their economy. They look at you and see a high-value political pawn that they can use for their own strategic advantage. We have seen multiple cases recently where Americans are detained on completely fabricated charges or incredibly minor infractions. Something as simple as carrying a legally prescribed medication from back home can suddenly be classified as international drug smuggling. Once you are in their system, your white privilege and your demands to speak to the embassy will fall on deaf ears. You are no longer a person with civil rights. You are a bargaining chip to be traded for Russian prisoners held overseas. The local population is also not going to rally to your defense or offer you any hidden sympathies. But state-sponsored television has spent years feeding the public a steady diet of propaganda that paints Westerners as the ultimate enemy. Many everyday citizens completely believe this narrative and will view your presence in their city with deep suspicion and hostility. Getting a visa to even enter the country is already a massive hurdle designed to keep you out in the first place. If you do manage to jump through all those hoops, you are walking into a society that actively resents your geopolitical arrogance. The United States government strongly advises against traveling there because they know exactly how helpless they are to rescue you. You cannot simply lawyer your way out of a Russian courtroom when the judge takes orders directly from the central government. The safety net you have always relied on back home simply does not exist once you cross into their territory. Your American confidence will vanish the second you realize that the authorities actually want to lock you up to send a message. Russia proves that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can pack in your suitcase is an American passport. Number 8, Cuba. At number 8 is Cuba, an island that perfectly exposes the limits of American financial privilege. There is a very romanticized idea among certain white Americans about traveling to Cuba to see the classic cars and smoke authentic cigars. People view it as an edgy tropical playground where they can bypass the rules just to get a cool photo for social media. Many tourists think they are clever by flying through Canada or Mexico to dodge the strict travel embargo that has existed since the 50s. They assume that once their feet hit the sand, their American dollars will magically solve any logistical problems they encounter. But the reality of visiting Cuba as an American citizen is a harsh wake-up call about how isolated you can truly be. Because of the long-standing political standoff, your American credit cards and debit cards are completely useless pieces of plastic here. You cannot just walk up to an ATM and withdraw cash when you run out of money for your luxury experiences. If you do not bring enough acceptable foreign currency, your wealth back home means absolutely nothing on the streets of Havana. More importantly, if you find yourself on the wrong side of the law, you are entirely on your own. The United States government has zero obligation to help you if you get arrested while violating their explicit travel bans. You cannot demand consular assistance or expect a diplomatic rescue mission because you decided the rules did not apply to your vacation. Even though the United States maintains a military base at Guantanamo Bay, that base might as well be on another planet. You are strictly forbidden from crossing from the base into the rest of the country, and the military will not bail you out. There are very specific educational and humanitarian categories that legally allow Americans to visit, but standard tourism is not one of them. When you sneak into a country that your own government has embargoed for over 60 years, you surrender all your protections. The local government is deeply suspicious of American motives, and they do not view you as a sacred guest. Cuba is a beautiful place, but it is a place where your passport actively works against your ability to survive a crisis. It forces entitled travelers to realize that they cannot simply buy their way into every corner of the globe. Number 7, Iraq. Coming in at number 7 is Iraq, where the history of American intervention has left deep and permanent scars. A lot of extreme adventure tourists, many of them white Americans, have started treating war-torn nations as exotic vacation destinations. They want the bragging rights of surviving a dangerous place, completely ignoring the painful reality of the people who actually live there. But when you walk the streets of Iraq, your physical appearance is a direct reminder of a violent military occupation. You look exactly like the forces that spent years kicking down doors, dropping bombs, and completely destabilizing their entire society. You cannot simply smile and act like a friendly tourist when your nationality represents decades of trauma and destruction. The local population is largely exhausted, and there is a very understandable underlying hostility toward anyone representing the West. Even if the official government is trying to rebuild and stabilize the nation, there are still numerous armed factions operating freely. These militia groups do not care about your personal political views or how open-minded you claim to be. To them, an American citizen is the ultimate symbol of Western imperialism, and harming you is seen as a legitimate political statement. The State Department explicitly warns that citizens from the United States are at an extremely high risk of violence and kidnapping. You cannot talk your way out of a confrontation with an armed militia by using your standard customer service complaints. If you apply for a visa, the Iraqi government might just deny it with zero explanation because they simply do not want you there. They know that having Americans wandering around their cities is a massive security liability that they do not want to manage. The privilege of assuming that everyone everywhere wants your tourism dollars completely falls apart in a place recovering from war. Your presence is not a gift to their economy. It is a painful trigger for a nation trying to heal from conflict. Iraq is a stark reminder that actions have consequences, and whole generations do not easily forget who destroyed their infrastructure. Traveling here for clout is the peak of Western arrogance, and the locals will not hesitate to let you know it. Number 6, Yemen. Number 6 is Yemen, a country where being an American citizen instantly transforms you into a high-value financial target. Even when people from wealthy Western nations travel, they usually assume that their biggest worry will be a pickpocket or a scam artist. They walk around with a sense of invincibility, completely unaware of how their nationality makes them look to desperate people. Yemen has been devastated by a brutal civil war, massive corruption, and a complete breakdown of basic government infrastructure. If you tell someone you are planning a trip to Yemen for fun, they should legitimately have your mental health evaluated, because the moment a white American steps foot in this environment, they stop being a human being and become a walking paycheck. Criminals and terrorist organizations know that the United States government and Western families have deep pockets. They assume that kidnapping you will result in a massive ransom payment, making you the most lucrative target in the entire region. There is no scenario where you can blend in or negotiate your way out of a coordinated abduction by armed professionals. Things are so incredibly dangerous that the United States completely shut down its embassy in Yemen back in 2015. This means there is absolutely nobody on the ground who can answer your calls for help or coordinate a rescue mission. You are operating entirely outside the safety net of civilization, surrounded by factions that view you as an enemy and an asset. There are very few paved roads outside the major cities, and the infrastructure you rely on for safety simply does not exist. The idea that you can explore the world freely without consequences is a uniquely privileged delusion that will get you killed here. You will not have to worry about the government arresting you because the roaming cartels and rebel groups will get to you first. They do not care about your human rights, your background, or your apologies for American foreign policy. Oi, in Yemen, your blue passport is essentially a massive neon sign pointing directly at your head, inviting anyone with a weapon to take you. It is the ultimate proof that some parts of the world are completely immune to Western entitlement. Number 5, Venezuela. We have reached number 5, which is Venezuela, an authoritarian state where the police are actually your biggest threat. In the United States, many white Americans have a deep and unwavering trust in law enforcement and the justice system. If someone looks at them wrong, or they feel slightly inconvenienced, their immediate reaction is to call the authorities for help. They assume that a police uniform automatically means protection, safety, and a fair resolution to whatever problem they are facing. But when you take that exact same mindset to Caracas, you are stepping into a deadly and terrifying trap. All Venezuela is suffering from extreme corruption, political killings, and severe human rights abuses carried out directly by the state. The government actively resents the United States, and the feeling is entirely mutual, leading to the withdrawal of the U.S. Embassy. If you get pulled over or questioned by Venezuelan authorities, throwing a tantrum and demanding your rights will seal your fate. You are not dealing with a system that cares about due process. You are dealing with a regime that disappears its critics. You do not even have to commit a real crime to find yourself locked in a horrific prison cell in this country. Simply being a foreigner, and especially an American, is more than enough justification for them to detain you indefinitely. They can accuse you of espionage, claim you are a spy trying to overthrow the government, and throw away the key. Isha, your confident demands to speak to a manager or call your lawyer will only provide them with entertainment while they lock you up. Other South American countries might have issues with street crime, but Venezuela has weaponized the entire government against Westerners. The people living there are already suffering under this oppressive system, and they cannot protect you from the secret police. Every single instinct you have about justice and fairness is completely inverted the moment you cross their borders. Venezuela teaches a brutal lesson that your American civil liberties absolutely do not travel with you in your suitcase. When the people in charge are the criminals, your privilege is nothing more than an invitation for them to destroy your life. Number 4, Afghanistan. At number 4 is Afghanistan, a place where the illusion of Western safety has been completely eradicated. But you do not need to be a foreign policy expert to know that Afghanistan is not a welcoming destination for American tourists. Following the chaotic withdrawal of American forces, the country is now entirely under the strict control of the Taliban. For 2 decades, the United States military operated in this territory, creating a legacy of extreme violence and deep resentment. If you are a white American trying to visit for some misguided sense of adventure, you are making a fatal miscalculation. There is absolutely no formal tourism industry left to protect you, guide you, or keep you away from hostile elements. Word travels incredibly fast in these regions, and a Westerner walking around town will immediately attract the wrong kind of attention. You will essentially be hunted down by factions that have spent their entire lives fighting against everything you represent. Kidnapping, terrorist attacks, and hostage-taking are not just random risks. They are established tactics used to exert political power. The United States Embassy in Kabul has been closed for years, resulting in a massive spike in unlawful detentions. If you are taken captive, there is no diplomatic channel to negotiate your release and no military force coming to save you. Many entitled travelers believe that their individual good intentions will somehow shield them from the historical anger of an entire nation. They think that a friendly smile and a few dollars will overcome the trauma of a 20-year-long military occupation. The reality is that to the people holding the weapons, you are nothing but a symbol of the enemy that bombed their homes. Afghanistan is the ultimate hostile zone where your passport actively guarantees that you will be treated with extreme prejudice. You cannot buy your way out of this environment, and you certainly cannot demand your constitutional rights from a fundamentalist regime. It is a completely unforgiving landscape where American privilege is met with absolute and uncompromising hostility. Your presence alone is considered an insult, and the consequences for ignoring these warnings are entirely irreversible. Number 3, Turkmenistan. Coming in at number 3 is Turkmenistan, which operates like a massive, tightly controlled simulation designed to crush your independence. Us, white Americans, are culturally conditioned to value personal freedom, spontaneity, and the ability to go wherever they want, whenever they want. We love renting a car, wandering off the beaten path, and exploring hidden neighborhoods without anyone telling us what to do. Turkmenistan takes that concept of freedom, rips it up and completely dictates every single second of your existence. It is one of the least visited countries on the planet, on allowing only a tiny fraction of tourists inside its borders each year. The capital city is a bizarre, sparkling white metropolis full of giant gold statues, but it feels completely empty and staged. If you are allowed in, you are legally required to hire a private, state-approved guide who will cost you thousands of dollars. This guide is not there to show you the best restaurants. They are a government babysitter assigned to monitor your every move. You are not allowed to wander the streets alone. You cannot talk to random locals, and you certainly cannot explore freely. The government employs a massive percentage of the population, meaning almost everyone you see is part of the state apparatus. They have a history of passing incredibly unhinged laws, like banning black cars from the road and outlawing dogs in the capital. As an entitled Westerner, you might be tempted to argue, complain, or mock these rules because they seem ridiculous to you, but raising your voice or displaying that classic American impatience will immediately result in your detention or swift deportation. You cannot simply leave a bad review or demand a refund when the entire country is run by a strict dictatorship. Turkmenistan forces you to surrender all your autonomy and submit completely to a system that does not care about your feelings. Oh, it is a deeply uncomfortable experience for people who are used to the world constantly catering to their every desire. Here you are just a highly monitored guest in a police state, and your privilege is locked away the moment you arrive. The illusion of control is entirely stripped away, leaving you entirely at the mercy of their strange and unyielding laws. Number 2, Somalia. Number 2 is Somalia, a place where the danger is so extreme that it defies all Western comprehension. Most Americans only know about Somalia from military history and the tragic events surrounding the Black Hawk Down incident. If you look at a map, you might see a beautiful coastline and wonder why developers have not built luxury resorts there. The answer is that the vast majority of the population lives in crushing poverty, and the rule of law simply does not exist. Somalia consistently ranks at the absolute bottom of the Global Human Development Index, making it incredibly volatile and desperate. The United States government issues warnings for Somalia that are so terrifying they sound like dialogue from a horror movie. Before you even attempt to travel there, they explicitly advise you to draft a will and designate someone to care for your children. They also highly recommend that you leave behind DNA samples with your medical provider so your family can identify your remains. When your own government tells you to leave DNA behind, but they are explicitly stating that your privilege cannot save your life. You are walking into a lawless territory where violent crime, terrorist attacks, and high seas piracy are just daily occurrences. The country is littered with illegal roadblocks set up by various armed factions who demand immediate cash payments to let you pass. If you refuse to pay, or if you try to argue with them like an angry customer at a retail store, you will not survive. There is no manager to speak to, but no police officer to call and no embassy to run to for protection. They will simply drag you out into the desert, take everything you own, and end your life without a second thought. The warnings do not say there is a slight chance you might get kidnapped. They suggest that it is an absolute certainty. Somalia is the ultimate reality check for anyone who believes that American confidence is a substitute for actual survival skills. But it is a brutal environment where the color of your passport makes you nothing more than a highly visible target for violence. Any trace of arrogance you bring across their borders will be met with immediate and unforgiving consequences from the local factions. Number 1, North Korea. Finally, coming in at number 1 is the ultimate forbidden zone, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea. This is one of the only places on the planet where the United States completely and outright bans its citizens from visiting. Your blue passport is legally invalid for travel here, making it the ultimate brick wall for Western entitlement. But if you magically manage to secure an exception, you would quickly realize that you are stepping into a psychological nightmare. North Korea does not want white Americans to visit because they respect them. They want them there as living props for state television. From the second you land, you are assigned government minders who will never leave your side for the duration of your trip. They will feed you a constant stream of propaganda, telling you that their supreme leader is a flawless superhuman being. You are not allowed to wander, you cannot speak to random citizens, and every single photograph you take will be strictly inspected. If you try to take a picture of a building from a bad angle, they will force you to delete it immediately. Many arrogant tourists have gone to North Korea thinking they could pull a prank or steal a souvenir for a cool story. We have all seen the tragic news stories of what happens when an American crosses the line in a totalitarian regime. Taking down a simple propaganda poster from a hotel wall will result in a sentence of 15 years of hard labor. Your government cannot fly in and demand your release because the two nations have absolutely no diplomatic relations. The North Korean government will parade your weeping, apologizing self on international television to prove the superiority of their system. You are completely stripped of your humanity and transformed into a circus monkey to entertain and validate their political narrative. There is no room for mistakes, no margin for error, and absolutely zero tolerance for Western cultural ignorance. North Korea is the ultimate proof that there are massive sections of this world where your privilege is entirely meaningless. It stands as the starkest reminder that stepping out of the American bubble can sometimes be a one-way trip. Thank you for watching this countdown. And
all right. 10 safest country for white people. 10 states where white people or white Americans will move by 2026. And 10 countries Americans should avoid right now. All right, so we're at the end of the program. I don't think I have to really tell you that it's over for America. And with that, for the next 24/7, 365, stay black and always stay black. And fuck all white folk. I'll see you Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Peace.